Frank, I heard you're going to the Bahamas this week.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be a great little vacation. Only thing that's going to suck, though, is I heard the resort's a little on the expensive side. You know, it's like $5 for a slice of pie in the Bahamas.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's like $3 in Jamaica.
Oh?
Those are the pirates.
Oh my
Pirates
god.
in the Caribbean.
Boom.
Oh
Pirates
my
in the Caribbean.
God.
Boom.
You got
Wow.
it.
You know what
That
makes
look
that
on your
even better,
face.
though?
It was like watching, like, in slow motion, something dying. It was like, that's the face that I would expect you to make.
Yep.
What's even better, though, is about a week ago, he actually got me with that one. And I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, it's $5 for a piece of pie? And he's like, yeah, but it's like $3 here. I'm like, oh my God, like, that's expensive. And he's like, yeah, those are the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was like cooking something and I turn around.
Did you throw
Like,
your
wait
dish?
a
No,
minute.
no. But he had come over from watching something on the TV to tell me this, and I immediately just banished him from the kitchen.
You're like, but wait, I can't get pie over there.
I was like, get out.
I imagine that he read it
It's
off the
too
same Reddit
expensive.
post that I did.
Yep.
Yep. Oh boy. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Two Guns No Ammunition. As always, I'm Big Billy. We are no ammunition. And let's see, Mike Identifier. I have been watching Dragon Ball, the original.
I'm Chris, and I wear a size 10.5 shoe.
So fax us your shoe orders. Also, I'm Genevieve, and I finished the logo, and I'm also watching Dragon Ball, the original.
I'm Lisa, and I'm sick today, so there you go.
I'm Frank. I now control the Twitter feed, so you'll get to see all of my wonderful responses to everything that happens in the world whenever I remember to update the Twitter.
I'm Jake, and yes, there's a Twitter, there's a Facebook. The SoundCloud now has its logo, courtesy of Genevieve. You can find us at Two Guns No Ammo on all platforms. We're working, I believe, on an Instagram. Is that happening?
We're thinking, yeah.
I think your head.
Maybe on Instagram, and down the road, look out for all these episodes being on YouTube as well. Not yet, but soon.
All right. So, as we mentioned in the identifier, Genevieve and I have been watching Dragon Ball. The reason we're doing this is because that Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I believe it is, recently came out, and it was based. It's basically another solid fighter with Dragon Ball skins on top with sweet power moves, and it was highly anticipated. And I watched a playthrough of it, and it's fucking amazing. So I said, all right, to really appreciate this game, I want to get all the lore, right? Mm-hmm. So let's start at the very beginning, which is Dragon Ball. So in the first one, there's this whole lore with the Dragon Ball Z era where you go Super Saiyan. We don't have any of that in Dragon Ball. Basically, like, that's what the series is known for, right, guys? And then they turn gold and their hair gets blonde, but that is the second series. We're in the original, the origin story of Goku, our main hero, right? This kid with a monkey tail, very strong, doesn't really know anything, he loves to fight, goes out in the world. And there's a couple things that have been really remarkable about watching this show. The first one being how whoever is drawing this series is not afraid to draw a child's business.
Penis. It's Goku's penis.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Whenever his clothes come off for some reason, because he doesn't understand the need for clothes. I mean, how often, the way he checks that if you're a boy or a girl, a new concept to him apparently is he pats your crotch. And everybody's like, huh? He goes, that's okay. I don't know. So, he's just hanging dong. That was the first remarkable thing. The second remarkable thing is the action is actually super incredible. Don't let what I just told you deter you. It's really not scandalizing.
Feel like bear through the child penis
I think it's legal.
for the action.
Wow, that's a soundbite if I've ever heard one.
Bear through the child penis?
Yep. So the fighting's actually super duper sweet. Goku can actually turn into this giant moon monster gorilla, and he kills unknowingly, and he smashes things like 20 stories tall. the fighting it's got sort of shitty animation, but it's still fun. It reminds me of being a kid. The sound work is cheap but fun, and I don't know. It's got that excitement to it. You know, people are getting like punched through walls and stuff, flying up into the sky and power bombing their opponents onto the ground 1,000 feet below. Very, very fun. I was surprised. I didn't realize that they introduced energy attacks in the game or in the series until this early. Well, Goku, who's really strong, ends up encountering Master Roshi, who is this turtle hermit. He wears a heavy turtle shell on his back for some reason. Also, he gets a lot of nosebleeds. Are you familiar with the usage of nosebleed in anime?
Boner.
Yep.
That means you have a boner. Genevieve learned me this one.
Not for child penis. He's creeping on young ladies.
He's probably the largest pervert in all the world. Like he goes to a store to buy clothes for this girl he's trying to sleep with.
Isn't he like 80?
Yeah, he's really old.
Yes, he's.
But he's
old
also
man.
like super jacked, which is a whole like he's really, really powerful, really, really strong, but he just can't get nobody. He's like he asks the clerk, "Could you model these for me? And if you like it, I'll buy you a bunch and maybe tip you."
It's probably the turtle shell.
And then they just punch him. So anyway,
well.
Master Roshi's really strong and ends up teaching Goku the Kamehameha Wave, which is a staple of the whole Dragon Ball universe. It's like everybody's favorite because you go Kamehameha, and it's like it builds up. Every time it goes, you're like,
People who've never seen the show have heard of the Kamehameha.
you're like, oh yeah, get him. Well, long story, slightly less long. I'm going to hand it over to Genevieve, but there's a tournament for best fighter in the world, and Master Roshi decides to enter both Goku and his friend Krillin, and they get in and they're really strong because they're trained by the master or whatever. Long story short, Goku ends up in the championship fighting Jackie Chun. Jackie Chun
Naturally.
is simply Master Roshi in disguise, but innocent Goku doesn't know. Well, it looks like Master Roshi is about to beat Goku with some sort of crazy master technique. And then the moon comes out, and Goku turns into that huge monster, but he doesn't step out of bounds. And he's smashing things, and he's throwing rocks at people.
Like 20 stories tall, giant monster. Like people are running out of the stadium. Like spectators are running away, thinking they're in danger. And Master Roshi's kind of having this like, oh shit moment. And then he's like, no. I got this. And was it the Kamehameha Wave he used?
Oh, yeah.
He like buckles down. He starts, charging up the wave.
Oh, yeah, and don't worry. As he focuses, he simply doubles in
Oh,
size.
yeah, right,
He
yes.
flexes his muscles so hard, they double in size.
Yes, this frail old man just all of a sudden becomes a big beefcake.
From carrying that turtle shell around all day.
Yes, but also anime exaggeration. So,
If I didn't know what he looked like already, like the way you're describing him to me, I feel like I'm thinking of Master of Disguise with that turtle shell and the really small.
I want to be a master of disguise.
What does
but
it do?
so he's charging up his wave, and everyone's anticipating he's gonna murder Goku with this powerful attack. And they build it up, they hype it up, and it's going on for like ever.
A season.
Yes, basically like the whole fight itself took like 4 episodes to get through.
That's not bad for Dragon Ball.
But then he shoots it off, and we don't see Goku anymore,
He's
or
gone.
we don't see this giant ape creature anymore. Everything's like smoke, rubble.
His friends are crying, what'd you do to Goku?
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, you murdered our friend. And yes, they're from the South. I've decided. It's this like serious, sad moment, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually Goku, as Kid Goku, pops up and he's like, oh, what happened?
Is he naked?
Oh, certainly naked, because why not? Why not have boy penis all over your screen when you just can have boy penis all over your screen? Why not? Oh, but then it gets better because they're like, oh, well, if you didn't kill Goku, what were you aiming at? The fucking moon. This guy blew up the moon to take away his monkey, to take away Goku's monkey powers. Like,
monkey penis.
are you fucking kidding me? He blew up the moon that has gravitational properties on the Earth. Like,
Yep.
what the fuck?
He's like, and the thing is, he's indignant about it. Jackie Chan is
He's just like, I just decided to blow up the moon so the monster would go away.
He's like, settle down. Goku wasn't the aim of my attack. It was the moon. And everybody goes, oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah, he simply blew up the fucking moon.
And I was like, okay.
As you do.
This series is going to be tight.
It's a give and take.
Yeah.
Like I almost bought into it, like the whole boy with the monkey tail
With the
turns
penis?
into yeah exactly. I was like, oh sure, whatever, it's anime, whatever. You blow up the moon, there's like physical properties that no longer work in your world.
Wait,
like
so can you not surf there anymore?
I don't know. You ask them. Let's see. We'll find out. We'll find out if
Tides
you can.
come in, times go out, and the
Can't explain
moon.
that.
The moon actually explains it, and now that it's not there.
Can't
and
Now it's not there. So
now
what's
we
gonna
can't
happen?
explain it because there's no moon to
Is
explain.
it just still water everywhere?
So-
Are plants gonna die? Are animals gonna die in the ocean that need that oscillation going around? Like what's
Well, the monkey died, so
Global flooding, all kinds of shenanigans.
is there just like is that one moon? Is this a different world? Do they have multiple moons? I don't know.
I'm
Does it
sure.
go
Doesn't
back?
in Dragon Ball Z doesn't Piccolo then destroy the moon again, or did I just take that from DBZ abridged on YouTube?
I don't know. I think you might be right, but I'm trying not to think too hard about it because I was surprised by this moon. I knew it blew up, but I had forgotten in my life, you know. So anyway, Dragon Ball, a cartoon, was made into several fighting games. You know, as you would expect, it's a fighting anime. And up until the newest one that came out, they were pretty much all bad, or at least not good, because of how the dynamic is. Like in Dragon Ball Z, they can fly. There's like multi-level fighting. They got cool power moves. Up until now, there wasn't a great way to do the series justice. The artwork in Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I think it's called, looks like the cartoon. You are playing the cartoon because we've got, you know, cell shading. We had cell shading. Now we can just make cartoons move around. It is sweet. But the series went to a live action movie, and that was dog shit. Did anybody in here watch it?
unfortunately,
No,
Was
I've
it
seen like an
directed by-
abridged version.
Was it directed by M. Night?
Oh god,
Or was that
it
just
might as
Avatar?
well have been.
No, that's funny
Shabba-labba-ding
because I
dong.
actually was thinking that for a split second, but I don't know if that's right.
I
or
don't think
not.
it was because it wasn't filmed in Philadelphia, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so our first topic at hand, can anybody think of an example of, well, I guess good or bad, games going to movies, movies going to games?
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
Actually, though,
But
yeah,
wait,
because there's video games about them, and there's kind of a movie.
Okay, yeah.
I think we could include shows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
shows from or to games.
Cross-media transformation.
There were, I believe, 2 Hitman movies.
Really? Was
it
Great
really
series
two?
of games. Yeah, there was one came out like 2-3 years ago, another movie. A great series of games. I didn't see the most recent Hitman movie. I saw the first one, like, I guess almost a decade ago now. Crap.
Oh,
Really?
no.
I don't. I remember catching like the end of it on TV and just
Not-
being like, it's all right. I don't know
Not
the game.
good. Not good. Same thing for Max Payne. There was a Max Payne movie. Great series of games. I only played the first 2 of the 3, but they were actually really, really fucking good. And then the movie was just, it didn't.
How do you screw that up? Like Max Payne is a guy who goes ape shit and needs to go kill a bunch of people. And how many movies do you see like that?
If no one's played the Max Payne series, for one thing, do it. They're great. They're on Steam for dirt cheap. If you have a PS2, you can find a copy. That's where I played it initially. But it's like a noir graphic novel style. Like a lot of the cutscenes are stills, as if it were a graphic novel.
Kind of like Sin City.
Kind of, except not the same. Obviously, a different style, but very much like a detective noir aesthetic. But Max Payne is a detective who in New York City, and his wife and infant child get murdered by drugged up psychopaths, and his mission is to figure out where they came from, what the drugs are all about, and it turns out to be like this huge government conspiracy, and the drugs are manufactured by this gigantic evil company, and he just one-man armies the New York mob, this company, and just kills hundreds and hundreds of people. And it came out around the time of the the first Matrix movie, so bullet time was a big game mechanic. You had like a meter that would fill, and you could trigger that meter on command, and the whole thing was like you could dive and shoot, and you could any type of pistol or submachine gun you could two-hand.
Famously named Bullet Time, right?
Bullet Time. And it was insanely fun and really dark and creepy, and just I can't speak for the third one, but the first two, awesome games. The movie took the plot of the first game and then for some and or no reason changed the ending of the first game.
Dramatically, or
well, they did a thing in the movie. I won't say what happens in the game, but they like a crooked cop who Max thought was his boy betrays him for some reason, puts 2 vials of this like psychopath drug in Max Payne's jacket, and then like chucks him into the bay in New York City, hoping it's winter, hoping he'll freeze to death. Of course, he doesn't. He gets out. He chugs both vials of this drug, which was, of course, enough a dosage to kill someone, according to the lore, and just goes apeshit. And, like, that's how he goes through and kills everyone. And, like, he doesn't kill the actual main bad guy like he does at the end of the game. He, like all this shit, the whole, like, last 20 minutes of the movie do not track the game for reasons as yet unexplained.
How do you?
It just wasn't good. It just wasn't good.
How do you blow Punisher cross Matrix?
I don't know. They found a way.
Unbelievable.
He's not even as like it's not even as supernatural as he's what's the word I want? It's different from the Punisher in that the Punisher kind of gets this like otherworldly strength somehow. As I understand it, I don't follow comic books too much, so I stand to correction. But the Punisher like goes through and like deliberately kind of almost jigsaws people just in like, you know, short time frame, no elaborate puzzles or nothing, just like kills people a little more methodically. Max Payne's just fucking pissed and has guns, right? Okay. So it's less complicated than the Punisher, but sort of similar. And add the Matrix's Bullet Time. Much more of a noir, dark plot. Play the games, skip the movie.
Yeah. You know what was pretty good actually? It came a movie. To game, in fact, was Mad Max. So the most recent iteration of Mad Max, it was like
Fury Road.
Fury Road. Okay, so call me a goober, but I was watching that movie and it was like however long, and we got 2/3 of the way through it, and they're still on this road. Like I thought Fury Road was like, you know, sort of representative of something other than a road.
Nope.
I said to myself, they're never getting off this fucking road.
It's one long chase scene.
Yeah, that's it.
Which was, I think, the same as the first Mad Max.
So it was pretty cool. I'll say that much. It was pretty cool. They made a game about it. I said, surely this is dog shit. It's awesome. The most recent one, it looks great. There's tons of missions, tons of variety. You basically drive around the wasteland, and it almost feels like what's that game? Shit. Borderlands. It almost feels like Borderlands, but it has all the same style, and the mechanics are really good. The racing's really good. The explosions are really good. Everything about it. I couldn't believe it. It might have won like, I don't think it won Game of the Year, but it won some award. A movie game.
But both the movie and that game, from what I hear, have had many accolades for different but very good reasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the movie. I thought it was great. I couldn't believe how good it was, quite honestly.
Yeah, same. I still haven't seen the original Max.
It's good.
Mad Max movies.
I recommend all 3 of the original.
Yeah, I hear good things, but this new one, I think its biggest claim to fame is almost a novelty anymore with movies. We could have a whole discussion about this, but I'll just mention all like 95% practical effects, like Cirque du Soleil actors on doing really dangerous stunts left and right, real explosions. Almost everything you see in that movie was filmed. There's very little CGI. Very, very little CGI, only where they absolutely had to do it. And what a lot of modern movies neglect is that that really does make a difference. There is no uncanny valley if you do everything for real.
Do it.
Just do it for real.
Do it.
So yeah, in the game, I guess that makes a lot of sense because the game did the same sort of thing. It stuck to the fundamentals. And what really makes an action game? It's the mechanics. It has to feel good to drive, has to feel good to shoot, has to feel good to reload, get in and out of vehicles, has to feel good to fight. Everything that they did in there was great. Getting in and out of vehicles is natural. Your character doesn't like the computer's not super overpowered, so you can get out. You got to run to cover. A vehicle doesn't just suddenly appear and run you over. When you're shooting, you hit what you're shooting at. Pretty expectedly. But on top of all solid mechanics, they put everything you would want from a Mad Max theme. You're doing arena fighting. You can run other cars. You hit them until they explode, and you can take their scrap parts. They took a lot of attention, and they ended up with a really good product. Anybody else have any other games you can think of?
Classic game, GoldenEye.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
And you know what? That game was like the closest to the movie of like any game I've ever played. If you watch the movie and then play the game, it's exactly the same.
That's not true. I'd have to correct you. I'm sorry.
Oh.
You're mostly right until the back quarter of the game. They skip around a bit. But yeah, it's. I'm only saying it for accuracy's sake. Otherwise, you're mostly right. And the big thing about, I think, GoldenEye, not to steal your thunder, is that it was basically Perfect Dark. If anyone play, it was. In fact, I think on the Xbox Live Arcade, you can now get Perfect Dark as a retro game, and you'll notice very quickly. It's the same game as GoldenEye in terms of its mechanics, its weapons. The controls are identical. Same engine and same graphics, the works. So GoldenEye was almost a port of, or you could almost think of it as Counter-Strike is to Half-Life. GoldenEye was to Perfect Dark at the time. Rare did it, like they just got the movie license and ran with it. But yeah, I agree. Very good job.
I mean, they did, and that's the thing that we're talking about, how you can make a good game off of a movie. You don't have to try too hard. You take an engine or a baseline good game, and then you throw a good story, from the movie. We already know it's a good story. Just put it right on top and make it work. And that game got huge. It was the multiplayer really that made that game big, right?
In the days before,
it was one of the first. It was considered one of the first party games.
Yeah, it has.
This was a 4-player multiplayer,
and that's the one I think the lore is that the multiplayer was just in there as a developer tool, and they said, "Oh shit, this is actually dope." It's only a couple weeks before release, but we're leaving it in. Yeah, it was a great decision.
They also had the brilliance to include a variety of silly cheat codes, things like big head mode, midget mode, paintball mode. Your character still fucking died, but he was covered in yellow, green, and blue. It was. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I still.
There's a paintbrush. Yeah, beat the shit out of somebody with a paintbrush.
Yeah. Anything else about GoldenEye?
No, but I was gonna say like what you were saying, like a game like where they take another engine from another game for a movie. I would probably say Shadows of Mordor did that, because I feel like when you're playing that, you're pretty much playing Assassin's Creed, but it's just Lord of the Rings.
So Shadows of Mordor, does that give you the story between or leading up to the first Lord of the Rings? Yeah. Okay, so I guess
it was pretty much like it was the residual stuff. Like after the forging of the rings, because like the one guy you interact with is the guy that forged all the rings other than the one.
Yeah, and I was, Lord of the Rings can be a little hard for me to consume just because it's so lore heavy. And they took, like you said, Assassin's Creed, which I've also had trouble with. Like I tried playing the first one, and I just got murdered all around.
I liked playing Shadows of Mordor better than Assassin's Creed, honestly, with the exception of Black Flag.
Yeah, then they took, I would guess, the best version of Assassin's Creed, where all the controls kind of flowed naturally. Now, granted, I was playing on a PC, and I think sometimes, you can get controllers for PC, but I was playing with a mouse and keyboard. I think sometimes action games flow a little better with a two-handed controller than a mouse and a keyboard. But even then, all the prompts flowed really easily on my hands. There were skill unlocks. Now, did you beat the game? Did you progress through the game?
Yeah.
What did you think of the abilities as they were unlocked?
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of the stuff. I thought the stealth aspect of it was slightly better.
And it was interesting because they took. I was like, "What are we just going to play through the movie games?" Because there exist Lord of the Rings games that are. There was one that was like just a straight up movie, and it was also really good somehow.
Yeah.
But.
The Return of the King one I thought was really good.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
So the Shadows of Mordor, you go around and you climb up buildings and you can stealth, and if they detect you, they chase you. and you can develop these magical powers as like a wraith. You're like half dead, half not.
Yeah.
But the best part about it is they have these systems of orcs with their own hierarchy in the military, and if you kill a commander, then they, the others move up, and you can learn things about different commanders, and then eventually they can come back from the dead, and they have scars left on themselves from where you killed them, right? And they remember you, and they have like, if you killed them with fire, they're afraid of fire or whatever. But all that stuff didn't come out of the movie, so I don't know.
Lord of the Rings is a huge world.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, if you like read the Silmarillion and all that stuff too. But what was also a pain too in that one is if you, if one of the commanders killed you, they get promoted.
Oh yeah, and they're even stronger.
And they're
the
even
next time.
stronger the next time you find them. It's just like, you motherfucker. It gets really hard eventually. Like if they really kick your ass, you're fucked.
Yeah,
later.
there was a couple times where I would walk up to some like jobber, low level captain, and then I'd start fighting him because when you engage, it goes to a cutscene, and they're like, "I remember you. You're not gonna win this time, filthy human." And then you start fighting, and then all of a sudden it goes to another cutscene, and it's like Krognak the undominable, like level 14, and you're
Their
fighting
names
level 5.
are
You're like,
nuts.
"Oh shit." He's like, I remember when you killed me 6 times ago. And you're like, oh, fuck, I got 2 of them, and this guy has poison spears. And you're like, you're running. And then a third time, and every time they get introduced, by the way, you hear in the background a chanting of their name. It's like, Uthgar, Uthgar, Uthgar.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no. And then
So it's
Uthgar's like,
intimidating.
level 15 Uthgar, captain of the guard. And he's like, I'm seriously gonna fuck your shit in. And he's like one of 3 you gotta kill. So you end up fighting 3 guys at once. And it is like asshole puckering, but when you win, it's one of the best game experiences out there. Because you're like, oh shit.
That was probably the most accurate description of how that all pans out. That was really good. That is exactly the game experience
So
right there.
there's a second one, right? Have you gotten your hands on it?
No, my brother played it though. He loved it though.
Yeah, it looked.
He said it was
great.
way better than the first one.
What? And the first one's great.
The first one was real good.
That's one we're gonna have to do a playthrough of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, Lord of the Rings has been a series where every game that came out that I've heard good things about. Which
And the Lego versions were great too.
the Lego Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Or they Lego Lord of the Rings games?
Yeah, they're Lego Lord of the Rings games.
What?
Yeah.
Because when Lego Batman came out in theaters, I was like, this is gonna be stupid.
Okay, that's a movie though.
It's a movie, but it's also a game.
Well, I don't know how the game is, but the movie is definitely not good.
What? Everybody loved Lego Batman.
No.
I heard it was
Except
amazing.
Lisa. Everyone
no,
except Lisa.
No,
Yeah,
so
why
bad.
don't you
Okay,
like
well.
What's wrong with it?
I mean,
stupid.
I didn't even see it. It just looked awful.
Oh,
It
okay.
looks
So you haven't
horrible.
actually
You didn't even
watched
see it? Oh, okay.
I don't
so,
want to see that.
Book by its
I don't wanna
cover.
see it.
Yeah, all right.
Book by its cover.
And that was me
Movie
until I
by
watched
its
it. And I was like,
cover.
oh,
Movie by its
actually.
preview.
Looked awful.
So there's one scene in the movie where Batman, he's like, hey, I wrote a song. Do you want to listen to it? They're like riding the bat plane, and it turns on. It's like, do. Darkness, no parents.
That's not funny at all.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
And all the Lego games are
Wow.
consistently really, really good. I guess, well, the Lego is known for like really high quality control on their pieces in order so that they fit, and that's why they charge you a mint. So I imagine that any sort of IP.
That's what they
like a
hurt us
game.
like
Yeah.
fuck when you step on it.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. All the angles are
Because
perfectly
they're
90
specific.
degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I imagine they would have tight control over any other IP like that.
Yeah. Like I love the Lego Star Wars.
Oh, they're so
Oh
fun.
my god.
Lego Star Wars?
Lego
Really?
Star Wars games are so
They're all of them.
so good.
That is one really consistent franchise game right there.
Yeah.
It is consistently amazing.
They did a great job with it.
How you played it?
I have.
Can you describe it a little bit?
Yeah, I forget which one it was. Which is the one where they have the cantina in the movie? That's
The first one.
It's
Well,
4, right?
first
A New Hope.
/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that one, right? And
3,
if I remember
4,
correctly,
4.
you go through the game and there's like a whole bunch of different doors. You're in the cantina you start out with, and of course you have the cantina music, only the best song ever written. That one. And you go through and you can be different characters, and obviously you're a little Lego person and everything's a Lego, and you go through and you collect other one little dot Lego pieces, and it's super fun. But you go through and you play different levels and different aspects of the game, and eventually you start unlocking different areas that you can go into when you unlock different characters, and you can bring characters, like you can bring Chewie with you, and you can have Chewie go and do things for you, and you have to some of it has to do with fighting, and some of it's like puzzles. Almost.
Yeah, like a lot of times, like you got to have them go to like another room to push a button.
Yeah,
so
or
that
like
one door will open so you can push another one. And
yeah,
all
like
that shit,
go
so.
stand on this vase so that I can unlock the secret door over here. But it's really fun. And then there's also like you have to like complete like you can like 100% it, so you can like replay levels and try to get 100% of the little Lego
It's hard.
thingies.
Now that when I played a Lego game, I can't remember which it was, but they definitely incorporated building, like the idea of building structures into the game. So the characters are actually made of Lego pieces, and when you defeat them, they disintegrate into a bunch of little Lego pieces, which is kind of a neat effect. And then I seem to recall if you had the right number of pieces to solve a puzzle, it would assemble in front of you and then put itself in the
cool.
Lego
You could like
world.
use the force to like make like say a switch to open a door or something, and or like you try to lift an object and you'd like use a little force, and then if you had all the pieces, it would like do like knick knack, and like all the pieces would move around, eventually like fit together and then drop down. And
the whole world is like Lego bricks too. I guess we can make the call.
It's
Lego,
awesome.
pretty much Lego anything is great.
Yeah, they did great.
Oh my God, I almost forgot about the greatest Lego game ever created. It was like Lego Island. Anybody in the room played this?
No.
I played the bejesus out of Lego Island.
Okay,
Explain.
Jake, can you take over description on this? Because I can't do it
Oh
justice.
my God, the memories are flooding back into my brains. My God. So weirdly, I got it from my Dutch grandparents. So it was technically a Dutch copy of the game. Everything was in English except for like the manuals. It didn't really matter because I was like 9, so I wasn't reading those stupid manuals. But yeah, it was kind of like it was an island composed of Legos and Lego people. And you
No
kinda,
shit.
imagine, right? And you would it was basically just a huge collection of mini games. There was like a big racetrack that went through like a mountain/volcano. There was like you could do ambulance missions, I think police missions, and like a helicopter and on foot and stuff. Tons and tons of collectibles. It was just this huge overworld, and then there was, well, huge for the time, and then there was also like a main plot. I remember very little of it, but it was like the most stereotypical, like the villain had a black and white striped prison outfit.
Yeah, the Brickster.
The Brickster. He
Right.
escaped from prison and he was fucking shit up, and you had to stop him.
Yeah. So
I forget what his motivation and
he wanted all the bricks, as I recall, and like you spent a good portion of the game building things, like you said, that police helicopter. You go in and do some puzzle and build it, and that
I think you could build your own helicopter. You could build your own like jet ski, your own cars, motorcycles, bikes. You could just build all these vehicles from bricks that you would unlock. It was really sweet. There was like pizza delivery missions, like the gamut, the fucking gamut.
Yeah, and there was racing, but the big story was the Brickster. What he would do is when he was out, he would steal the bricks and like destroy things. And it would be gone because he would steal all the bricks. But he had this hankering for pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very end, you engage in a chase, and I think you even use once you've built all the things you need, you chase him using all the things that you have built, all the different vehicles and stuff. And I remember I got to the last chase, and it was the first time I experienced being like fucked in a video game, because I had chased him far enough, and he went to this building, and I kept throwing pizzas, and he was too close to the building. So by the time he would run to the pizza, and I had to do whatever to do, click a button or whatever to try and catch him. Oh, I think you had to like throw handcuffs or something. He would already be heading back to the building, and I couldn't get him. So I just kept throwing pizzas, and as soon as I stopped throwing pizzas, he would steal the last brick in the game, and I would lose. Game over. So I would reload the save, and it was the exact same spot.
Mm-hmm.
All I could do was throw pizzas forever.
Yep.
But,
You could permanently lose that game.
oh yeah.
It did not. It was not easy by any means.
No. Well, and now I think I went back years later. And I was like, let me check this thing out. And it looks like a 90s game or whatever, maybe early 2000s. The gameplay's still pretty much fun if you're not looking for anything crazy, but it wouldn't take nearly as long now as an adult. It like wouldn't take the 8 hours or whatever it took as a kid. I think it would take 40 minutes. But that That is a classic of our generation.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Boy, I haven't thought about that. You know what? In the same vein, Lego Rock Raiders was another game I played a lot
I
of.
don't know anything about this one.
It was a series of sets you could buy and build, and the whole premise was like mining on alien planets and encountering alien species. Also,
What?
yeah, and the plot of the game that came out in tandem with those sets was you were on like a ship, kind of like one of the big Halo cruisers. What's the one in the first game?
Pillar of Autumn?
Pillar of Autumn. Yeah, it looked very similar to like one of those. I kind of think there was some influence on Halo, honestly. And they get sucked into a wormhole by accident, and they're just in another part of the galaxy and/or other galaxy altogether, and they're fucked, and they have to like mine these materials to reopen a wormhole and head home. It's like Star Trek Voyager meets Halo meets Lego, and it was pretty sweet. And so they were on these. You would land on these different planets, and they were just like these underground areas, and you had to like manage units and get materials and like defend against creature attacks and what have you. And it was a long puzzle game, and I never beat it. It was not easy for 12-year-old me whenever it came out. But it was fun. Like you would unlock, cooler and cooler, like mining, like just big fucking mining equipment with gigantic drills on it. You could put lasers on it, and then these aliens would pop out, and you could like whip the lasers on them. You would equip like soldiers with like increasingly better guns and shit to deal with it. I guess it was closest to an RTS. Definitely, yeah. Definitely like an RTS, but like I guess part like not Minecraft, StarCraft, just without like other teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of that too.
Oh man, it's not a TV show or anything like that. Burger King years ago put out games, I think for the Xbox, and I said, "Oh, this is," and they charged.
Oh,
money.
I remember that.
And I said they're going to be terrible, and then I
They
played
weren't
it.
much though. They were only like $5 or something like that.
Oh, you're right.
They were real
What
cheap.
were they?
They were.
They were super sing. It was all about the king.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Burger King.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And remember when he had that crazy mask on as part of their ad campaign? And there were like 5 or 6 mini games on it. Frank, do you remember any of them?
I actually don't. I actually did play them when I was in high school, I want to say. It might have been even middle school.
I remember one in particular. You're like sneaking around in the woods in like...
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I do remember this. Are you trying to either steal
No, you're trying to deliver hamburgers.
Yes, you're trying to sneak hamburgers into people's... Was it clothes or like their bedroom?
It was not, you're like
Whoa,
trying to sneak.
whoa,
No,
whoa.
yeah, it was pretty strange. You're like trying to sneak it into their pocket like a hamburger.
What?
And then like when you do it, they go oh, nom, 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 and they're real happy. But like it's a stealth. It's Splinter Cell Burger King.
Oh.
It was
Reverse pickpocketing.
I feel like that game
Yeah.
would be
Reverse
great on
pickpocketing
LSD.
for happy cheeseburgers.
it was
Splinter Cell hamburger.
It was beyond bizarre. And
Oh
then
my
I think there was a
God.
racing.
Splinter Cell hamburger theory.
I think there was a Burger King racing game in there, and it was really good. I don't understand.
Did the cars have burgers for tires?
Oh, geez. I think this
I
was one
hope
of those
so.
things. I was drunk once at a party in college. I'm like, what is this garbage? Whoa. It was pretty sweet.
This is a great game.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of a good video game gone movie because there was...
The best, I think, would be Resident Evil.
Oh, my God. I
Yeah. I
didn't
completely
think
forgot
about that,
about
yeah.
that. Resident Evil...
They made a few of them.
There's like 7 or 8 of them now.
Not all of them are great, but some of them are actually pretty good. The first one was, I thought, actually a good movie.
Yeah, the games are basically a clinic on how to do survival horror.
Yeah.
Like limited resources, there's monsters everywhere, but they're not super fast. Like even in the original games, you can just run around them. Like if you stop to shoot them, then later on in the game, you'll have nothing to shoot the bosses. And they started way back, but the movies turned out pretty darn good, right?
Yeah. I know the first one, that was like 2001, I think. It's pretty old at this point. Mila Jovovich, I believe, is like the main character in it. And the second and third one, I think, are also pretty good. They start to slide for a while. I mean, they made a ton of movies. And there was one that came out, I want to say like 5 years ago, maybe, that was okay. It wasn't great.
Yeah, the Resident Evil series itself as games, is there a bad one?
I've heard that as they go on, they've gotten dumber and less.
I just
last
played 6 recently, and it was like okay.
Was that the one in the
like
swamp?
5 on?
No.
Yeah, the last one that I played was 5, and it was okay. It wasn't a great game. I actually really
Is that
liked
the one
4.
in Africa, or was that 4?
No, 4 was in Spain.
Alright.
5 was in Africa.
Which
Yeah.
one's down in Louisiana? Like in the bayou?
2 or 3?
No, there's a more recent one that everybody looks photorealistic. We talked about it on this one.
That might be 7.
It's
The new one.
friggin' sweet.
Yeah, because the new one, I can't even remember. Is it Retribution? Maybe it might be called. One of my friends had like the preview of it because it's also you can do it in VR,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nuts. It's an experience. Like it's not even a video game. It's an experience.
It's one of
In
those things.
VR.
It's like it's not unsettling in how realistic it looks. Sometimes you're like, wait a minute, is this person real? Like, is this a video? And I've talked about it before, so I won't go into depth. But like, the whole idea is that in each of these, you're trapped in some building or area where there's some
That
sort
is
of
7. Yeah.
horrible evil, and it's usually from like a virus or something. And at least in 7, they change you into they change people in these big horrible goo monsters that walk around, and they give some people supernatural powers, and your job is to get the fuck out. That's it. And you get murdered all the time. But the movies are the movies like that?
No, the movies are all zombie movies. It's just as you like
high
to say,
flying, like
Yeah.
bullet time action.
Yeah.
Mila, what's her face, is a brutal, awesome killing machine. The whole
Yeah,
time.
she's like a genetically altered human being.
Was she also in Aeon Flux?
No, that was
No,
someone
that's
else, and that
Charlize
movie was not
Theron.
good.
Oh, okay. What? Because that wasn't received as well. What else has Mila been in?
Fifth Sense.
The Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. There we go. Yeah. Sorry.
That was her.
Yes.
I don't know.
The
I've never
The
seen
only
it.
other
It was.
movie that I know for sure that she was in was Dazed and Confused, like in
Oh,
1993.
yeah.
She was.
Okay.
It's all right.
So, talking about that,
Unique.
another one popped into my head. Silent Hill.
Mm.
I watched the movie, and I can't say it was a bad movie, but I can't go so far as to say it was a good movie. All I can think of is that monster with the triangle head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, which came
It's
first?
called Triangle.
The
Or it's called
chicken or
Pyramid
the
Head.
egg?
The
Movie
game
or
did.
game? Game came
Game
first. Okay.
It's called Pyramid Head.
Yeah.
So like the way these games work is the town. It's based off of Centralia, Pennsylvania, which actually is on fire underneath the ground. We talked about this before.
And I lived very close to it, or lived very
The
close to
town
it.
is called Silent Hill, and it's discussed differently in different games, but it basically calls to you, right? And you come into the town and you get stuck there, and other people can be there too sometimes. But what happens is, like, all the evil and struggle and pain in your head becomes embodied in some way in the world. The world, think of Stranger Things, like what's it called?
Demogorgons.
No.
The Upside Down.
The Upside Down. It's a world like that. You know what I mean? It still maintains a lot of like structural characteristics, but it's covered in this horrible red ichor, and these monsters are contorted versions of it's like, and they're supposed to represent like your character's like hate and self-doubt and with the way you betrayed, like, you know, the love of your life or whatever. And I think one of them, somebody basically got their son killed, but Pyramid Head is the embodiment of an emotion like that. And he's just walking around trying to kill the guy, sort of as punishment or whatever for what he did. And those games are awesome. If they were, they might, if they're books, you could read them. But from what you're saying, the movies are like.
Yeah, I like I said, it's not necessarily a bad movie, but I watched it and I was like, well, that was 2 hours of my life that I can't say I wasted, but I am definitely never going to get back.
All right. Well, what do you guys think of Tomb Raider? Because that was a game first.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, Tomb Raider's great. I think they did a good job with it.
It's an
The
okay
game or the
movie.
movie?
The games are classics. I
The
mean,
games are classic. I liked the first movie a lot, actually. I thought
With
Lara
Angelina?
Croft was so cool, doing all her
It
Lara
was
Croft
Angelina
things.
Jolie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they did a good
Yeah.
job, like really staying true to Lara Croft's badassery.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, what was it, the backpack with the magazines for her
Yep.
guns that just like she like hits a button somewhere,
Yeah.
they slide down, she just like reloads them that way.
Yeah.
Sick.
You know,
Sick.
Yeah.
it was kind of
Yeah.
funny. They have a new Tomb Raider movie coming out.
They do.
Yeah, and
with
I was-
Alicia Vikander. She was an Ex Machina, the robot in Ex Machina.
Oh, okay.
And I was looking at her, and she's like more, I want to say like average sized, which, you know,
You
I
mean
don't-
in the boobies?
yeah, I don't have a
The
problem with. I don't.
boobies and
I
the
certainly don't
hips.
have a problem with it. But it used to be sort of a staple of the series, and I imagine part of the reason Angelina Jolie fit the role so well. In the first, well, in all the games, Lara Croft had these gigundous boobs.
Well,
but it was,
triangle boobs.
Triangle.
But that's the thing. Back in the day, you didn't have very many pixels on screen, so it was like 3 pixels, one on top, one on the bottom, one on the side. Just these big, pointy, equilateral triangles for boobs.
I would say they were isosceles triangles.
Oh, okay. And
First
then,
of all, they were pyramids.
Pyramid heads.
and then
they really more were cone-like.
the Illuminati had a lot to had a lot to do with the game.
yeah.
So-
But there was a newer interpretation where they did the girl. It was much more realistic, and we talked about it also on here. The girl became more realistic looking.
You mean the game? The newer
in
game?
the game, yeah. And it had a lot more like quick time events. They really modernized it a lot, while maintaining good story, good character acting, good shooting mechanics, hunting mechanics, and it was fucking brutal. Like I remember being taken aback because Lara was like floating down a river and you had to dodge these sticks, and if you didn't dodge them, a pointed spear would launch up through her neck and come out the back of her head.
These are
Because
the
she would
most
make this
recent
like
games.
death
Not the most
sound.
recent one. It
and
might have
it'd
been
be-
2
it
or
was
3 ago because they keep making them because this one was so good.
In the last few years, they've rebooted the franchise.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
So it might have been the reboot.
Yeah, it
The
could be
original
that.
reboot.
I played the second of the reboot games. I still haven't finished it actually for some reason. But yeah, I know exactly where you're talking
I
about.
watched it and I was
Great.
like, oh my God, I've never seen a woman die like that in a video game before.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
It's great.
as a character, she's a bit whinier than she needs to be. You don't get the sense that she's this badass. She has all these hang-ups, and they're trying to give her character, but it just doesn't track with the rest of the plot and the feats she accomplishes to me, and that seems to be a criticism I've heard elsewhere. But I mean, it's pretty small potatoes next to what are great combat mechanics, great like foraging and exploratory, a relatively minimalist but effective crafting system for upgrades and weapons and what have you. A lot of fun. Yeah.
So another one I can think of is Doom, which we did a pretty extensive coverage on a couple episodes ago. You're a space marine. A portal to hell is opened on Mars, which we
You're really,
colonized,
really upset about
and
it.
you're really, really mad about it. And it's just
Like really, really mad.
yeah, it's just punching, chainsawing, shooting these horrible demon monsters coming from hell. Well, they made a movie of it.
In space.
With Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Starring, and it was action packed, and he's like, you know, a pretty good actor, and he's huge, so that works. But at the very end, they're like, shit, we gotta fuck shit up. They switch the camera to a first person view, just like the game, and he's running around killing all these monsters. It was, if nothing, really satisfying to see that switch. Otherwise, a decent movie.
Yeah. That's how a lot of these are. I think a lot of these movies. I mean, most of them, they know they're gonna get a certain number of people to go see them who are fans of the game. So they have a built-in budget for that. You know,
Right.
It's got brand recognition, so they can justify putting a good budget to it. So it gets big name actors, plenty of production value. So there should be, I should say, a floor to how bad it could be.
You say that.
Which brings me to the next one I think we should discuss, Assassin's Creed.
Oh no. All right, so Frank and I tried to watch the
movie.
if you can call it that may or may not have come out.
We're not
really
sure
wanted-
about if it came out or not.
It
I
allegedly
really wanted
exists.
to watch it. Frank didn't want to watch it, but I wanted to watch it. So what did we do?
You watched it.
We watched it. We got about 10 minutes into it.
It was 20,
Maybe 15.
25.
Okay. Well, we got a very small portion into the quote movie, and I shut that bitch off.
Oh, what was wrong?
Oh
Like,
my God, it was so bad.
what?
Everything about it was awful. I couldn't pay attention to it. The filming, like, it just all looked so CGI and awful. And not that the CGI was bad, but it was just so CGI'd, it seemed like. That was just like, okay, this is not... I can't get into this.
Now, granted, I will say, so I tried watching it twice, right? Once by myself, and I had the same reaction, right? And then Lisa wanted to watch it, and I was like, no, it's terrible. Don't even bother. But she was insistent, so we tried watching it, and she had the same exact reaction that I did. And the only thing that I can really say about it, because I've tried to purge it from my brain, is, first of all, like, I don't know who did the cinematography for that movie, but I imagine that they were a high school film class dropout, because they tried to get all of these like artsy angles of people talking.
Oh no.
But it just looks terrible, and you're like, why do they have the camera pointed like not at his face? And he's talking, and you can see like out of the side of the screen that he's making some sort of face to convey his emotion, but because of the angle that they have, you don't see it anyway. Beyond that, there might be a story in there somewhere, but they do a real good job of just not telling you about it. And because it's just like action scene after action scene after action scene. At least for the first however long that I saw it, it's like you need to stop and like have a plot somewhere.
You know what though? That kind of reminds me of some of the games.
Where it's just action. No,
Where it's just
no real
like,
plot.
Yeah, they're talking about character names and locations and stuff, and I have zero investment. Can I just get back to stabbing people? Shooting crossbows? That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I mean, now, you know what?
Everything after Black Flag, every dialogue scene, I basically fell asleep.
Yeah, they try to, you know, like, okay, so there are movies out there that I actually really enjoyed that have a very simple plot and really minimal plot, that they really are just strings of action scenes loosely tied together by this very simple plot. John Wick is one of them.
Transporter.
Yeah, the transport.
Great.
Yeah, great. Those are all good.
Shit.
Hitman?
Not the movie. Jason Statham.
Mechanic.
Maybe.
The
Not
Transporter.
That one. No.
We said that.
God damn it.
No.
There's Bank Job.
I didn't mean
Crank.
Hitman.
Crank. Yep.
I meant Taken.
Taken.
Yeah.
A Taken.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have a good plot to have a good action movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You need a functional plot.
and
one with structure and purpose and motivation.
And Assassin's Creed, I believe, tried to establish that, but got one way too artsy on itself for how it wanted to establish it and give the motivations, and two, tried way too hard to make like a very cliche thing. It's all about some like guy who like went to prison and they resurrected him because he was like the ancestor. He is the descendant of somebody whose memory they really wanted to find. I don't even know if it was like the Holy Grail or something.
That's like the
Two,
core.
right?
That's kind of the core sci-fi element of the entire series.
Yeah.
That is the ability to relive one's ancestor's life and therefore glean historical information
Yes.
through one's DNA.
Yeah.
Historical, genetic memory.
Yeah, but the whole point of this was that this kid was like had a bad or the guy who they chose, like the main character, who I think was played by Michael Fassbender, was like in jail for something terrible, and then the main company, Abstergo is the name, right? From I'm pretty sure they carried that over. Got him out of jail or something like that, so that they could plug him into this machine and get some specific memory, you know. And they have like this flashback to when he was a kid and how he like parkoured around to like escape his abusive father. So it was just like typical like cliche stuff that they didn't even, it's like they almost didn't even try and write, and I'm sure they had a massive budget for it, but I mean, I can't even tell you how awful this movie is. Like when I say, if you give me like a large sum of money and I think I could make a better movie, I'm not kidding. I honestly think I could, because it's like they didn't even try.
So, anybody see Prince of Persia movie?
Prince of Persia?
No.
Prince of Persia.
Jake Gyllenhaal? Was that?
Yes.
I heard that was
Ethan
bad
Hall.
too.
I was pretty excited for it. I mean, not that I just knew that Prince of Persia was a good game. So the way that it works is it's basically another parkour game. You're running around trying not to fall in
It's
buildings.
a spiritual predecessor to Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you die or whatever, you can just hit the time rewind button and it takes you back in time and you can try that section again. It's pretty neat. Or if you're about to die. And then they had Jake Gyllenhaal make a movie about it, and I never heard about it again. So I anticipate that it wasn't super great.
No, I heard it was actually really bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I
I
would
heard it
believe.
really tanked. So
No one here has discussed Batman yet.
I was actually saving it. We have two heavy hitters at the very end. I
Okay.
think. Batman. We're going to do Batman and Star Wars.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody played the Matrix game?
I
Nope.
played like
No.
5 seconds of it and was confused and stopped.
I didn't. I think it was the Matrix Reloaded I actually played. I wasn't sure. Like years later, people are like, that was a terrible game. And I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was okay. But then I thought to myself that I never finished it or advanced past the third level. I was like, it's kind of a hallmark of a bad game. All right. Good one. Good game. Good TV.
One more?
Yeah, one more. Good TV.
Simple.
Gone.
I was going to say one more. It's pretty simple and quick.
Okay.
Was there something else you wanted to talk
Yeah, I was going to talk about The Walking Dead.
about?
Oh,
Um,
no.
Well, the Telltale games I thought weren't bad.
That's what I'm talking about. No, the Telltale games are awesome. Has nothing to do with the TV show other than
Same universe.
same universe. But it's incredibly well acted, incredibly well written. And what they do is at different points of the game you can guide your character around, but there's nothing actiony about it. It's basically like create your own story, like a Goosebumps thing. Do this or do that. And every once in a while you'll interact with by the way, the art's great. It's like it's cell shading or whatever.
It looks like
it.
comic books, kind of.
Yeah. Really nice job.
At this point, it's better than the show itself.
Yeah, and at every point throughout like each chapter, the story's broken into like 5 chapters. You have to make a decision in a conversation with another character. And if you're like somebody's a shitbag and they ask you for help, you can be like, say nothing, tell them to fuck themselves or help them. And then they remember that. They go, such and such will remember that. And at the end of the game, they get the statistic. At the end of this chapter, they get the statistics together and they show how your decisions statistically match up with the rest of the players. And they like to get it close to that 50-50. Did you save X person or did you let them die to save Y person? And the characters really do remember that. So later on in the story and interaction, you can be like, I need some help. It'll be like, fuck you. You left me on the boat. You know what I mean? But the reason that game was so good was the art was great, but the writing and acting was stupendous. If you don't like the show, you might still like this video game. It is awesome. Frank, you had something?
Yeah. I know that there are a ton of people out there, maybe not necessarily any of us, but a ton of people out there who like Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and the Warcraft games. And I did watch the movie, and I can say sci-fi TV, made for TV level on a $100 million budget.
One of our boys from It's Always Sunny directed that, right?
Did he really? Wait.
Yeah. Really? I thought Mac directed that.
Wait,
Rob
really?
McElhenney? I don't think so.
Rob
McElhenney.
One more little one, Final Fantasy.
In movies?
Yeah. There were 2 that they made.
two.
There was
There
the
was
Spirits Within
Spirits
and
Within,
Advent Children.
Advent Children. And they're very different animals. Spirits
Yes.
Within, true to form, was a completely unique story, not tied
Yep.
to any existing game, just as none of the games are tied to each other, except for the ones that have actual sequels, which are, there are 2, 10
and 13.
13 had a sequel also. But Advent Children was a movie in the aftermath of Final Fantasy VII. It was a sequel to the game
Yes.
in movie form. I thought it was, as a fan of the game, fun enough.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't great, looked good.
Yeah.
And the action scenes were real sweet, but not a whole lot.
Yeah,
else
that
to it.
motorcycle. Yeah.
The motorcycle was sweet, all the
Yeah.
different swords.
Mhm.
Like, the action was real good.
Yeah.
Sephiroth coming back was a huge, that brought the house down. The remix of Sephiroth's theme with the metal the drums and oh my, it was fun. It was fun, and really didn't have any meat on its bones.
Yeah, I watched it and I was like, yeah, I saw it.
And I even thought like the villain who becomes Sephiroth later, I forget his name now, starts with a K, I think. He had that. Good one. He had a katana with like 2 blades on it in parallel. It was kind of sweet. I thought he was like indoctrinating the kids of whatever the big city in FF7 is.
Midgar.
Midgar. He like had them all like kind of like possessed for a bit until Cloud like broke the spell and whatever. He was a cool villain. There were lots of cool scenes and cool visuals. A lot of callbacks to the game, but not knowing the game, it would be useless to watch.
Were they both CGI?
Yes.
Okay. Did they stay true to the story and include a scene where somebody suplexes a train?
Neither thing happened. However, in the final fight in Advent Children, many buildings were cut in twain with swords.
All right, well, that's good.
That's pretty
for me.
sweet.
Nice.
You know what we're sleeping on? The Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh boy.
There's a reason we're sleeping on that.
No, it was because it was great. It was the greatest movie of all time, if I recall.
One of the most
So
racist
good.
movies of all time, if I recall.
I think
so
I watched
good.
half of it when I was 8. So
I think I
And
did
that's it? You
something
never
very
finished it?
similar.
yeah. So it's good, is what you're saying, Frank?
Um,
Oh, wait, no, it's bad.
It's legendary.
I forgot.
It is
I
one-
don't
legendarily
even know
bad.
how to begin.
I forgot he mentioned that it was racist, and then I was like, "It's a good movie."
Racism.
Whoa,
Yeah.
oopsies.
Yeah, racism.
Racism and boy peen. That's this episode.
Yeah.
That's the title.
That's the
man.
title,
episode.
Yeah. So I guess
Boy peen.
the natural next step is to talk about
Please like and subscribe.
Batman. So up until I would say the reboot of the Arkham series, all the Batman games were pretty not great. Like in the same way that the movies, I mean, look at the one with George Clooney in it.
The Joel Schumacher
Rather
movies.
not.
Look at the ones where there's penguins with missiles on their backs. These fucking movies
Why would you
were
not
like,
want to see
Genius.
penguins with missiles
Yeah.
on their backs?
like even the movies with like decent action, like it was just, it felt like nobody took it seriously. Like it was Batman themed, but they're like, well, the show's goofy, the movies are goofy, so fuck it.
Holy
guess-
shark repellent, Batman.
There might have been some good ones back on like early NES systems.
I was gonna say Batman Returns on NES was pretty good.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah,
What?
it was.
Probably hard as shit though, because
It was. It was still. All those fucking games were hard as shit.
Yeah. Oh shit! That just I'm not going to change subject. Toy Story came out with a Game Boy game, hard as fuck, but it was awesome. Okay, so Batman, and then they got to the Arkham series, and Chris or Genevieve, you want to talk a little bit about those?
Fucking amazing they were.
Yeah.
Because they are.
They're awesome. All of them.
Well, because they came out, they started that again right around the same time as the Christopher
The
Nolan
Nolan.
movies came out. And they are kind of in the same sort of style, I would say. Like they're a little more colorful, a little
Yeah.
more playful, almost less serious.
What's so serious?
Yeah.
They,
But I think they expand the universe of Batman better than the movies
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Because like in the first one, it's basically your main villain is Scarecrow, and that's all you get.
I'm sorry to cut you off, and I'm gonna let you finish. But
first-
but just to the whole point of them being colorful, I haven't played them yet, but I've seen a bit. They do something. I think they walk a great line between still maintaining that dark atmosphere and still incorporating lots of rich color within it. I think it's a hard line to walk.
Right, which is almost like it reminds me almost of the Joel Schumacher movies, like Poison Ivy being like all green and pink, and like she still has those colors in this game, but it's still basically all nighttime, dark, like you can hide in the shadows, but then you get these pops of color that are just so vibrant and like definitive of each character's persona that it really works. And I think the style itself is probably a little more understandable to the public who've seen like the original movies or the other movies or the show, and like know it more as a goofy kind of like Batman and Robin gotta go fight crime, climb up this building that's actually the ground, like goofy stuff. Like it's still kind of kind of has that like almost cartoony, silly aspect to it, where you're like, all right, surely these superhuman people aren't real, but it doesn't take itself almost too seriously in a kind of way. So
the combat is a lot like Assassin's Creed, right? Where you can be in the group of people.
We keep coming back to it.
Assassin's Creed.
Is it or is it not?
No, I don't think it.
No,
I don't think
Where
it
did
is.
that combat system originate? In that game?
I think so.
Shoot, I don't remember. I don't know.
What's it? Can
But it's
you
not
describe
Assassin's Creed. It's
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up Shadows of Mordor.
Yeah. Oh, that thing
Because
we
it
just compared.
steals
Yeah.
the combat system from Arkham series.
Mm-hmm.
What was it
no,
like?
it got it from Assassin's Creed.
No, it got the traveling, but when you're fighting in a group, it's prompts overhead.
Oh,
right?
is that like Batman?
Yeah, that's how.
Because that's what if you're not like if you're anything above normal in Batman, it doesn't give you those prompts. Anything lower, sorry, anything normal or lower, at least for the first few fights, it tells you like hit triangle X, whatever it is, the button to counterattack or to do this certain kind of move. And
So basically, the combat system is Batman will you can navigate above everybody, and you can string them up by your bat grapples and hang them from stuff to intimidate people. And you get detective vision, so you can see their heart rates, and you can sort of track them through solid objects. Bat vision.
You can see
It's
who's
basically like night
armed
vision.
and who's not, and all that shit. One of the cool things too you can do is like he has like explosive gel that like he'll like drop a drop of it and then like dodge out of the way. So like if you're surrounded by a bunch of fools, you just drop that right in the middle of it, dodge away, and it blows up, and they all go flying and shit. And then you can just do whatever the fuck.
what I truly appreciate about the game, though, is like on the vein of it's still kind of goofy, is that Batman in this serious universe still takes the time to draw out a bat signal in explosive gel. Like he's fucking fighting like bad guys, like murderers and psychopaths in the crazy bin or crazy city or whatever setting you're in, where it's like he's dominated by these insane people. And he's like, oh, well, let me take this time to just draw
Go draw a
my
picture.
symbol. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna draw a picture for
Oh,
you.
and then
blow
I'm
it
gonna
up.
run away, and then I'm gonna like explode it, or do like 5 more, and then explode all those.
So if you're not Batmaning, or after you're Batmaning, right, jumping around above people and hanging them up, being super spooky, dropping down and then disappearing with them under your cloak, your cape, you can drop into the middle of a group of like anywhere between 3 to 20 bad guys, like Joker thugs. And the combat is them all circling around you as you're fucking punching them and elbowing them and kicking them and flipping and throwing things at their face. But the way the combat system works is before they strike you, and like Genevieve said, normal or lower maybe, it gives you a little prompt when they're about to strike so that you can hit the circle button, I think. But the goal is to chain together attacks. So you like punch this guy, and then the guy behind you holds up
combos.
a pipe, and you turn around and you block his arm, and then you punch him in the face, and then basically you push the directional stick to the next guy that you want to attack, and you block and attack to get more bigger strings together. And then when you get a certain number in a row, you can do a finishing move, which is like stomp this guy's neck, and you see his like. You can see his arm break or whatever through the bat vision, right?
Well, yeah, basically, you're, as Batman, you're not killing anyone, you're knocking them out. You're
By
not-
stomping on their
permanently
neck.
maiming
Yes,
them.
by like giving them concussions and breaking their limbs. It's totally fine.
Yeah. In that respect, with the countering and chain together, very much an Assassin's Creed thing also.
Oh, okay.
The difference being, I think in Assassin's Creed, at least the ones I've played, you get like an achievement and or points for doing that. You do not get a cool creative finishing move. You just kind of counter them all and you win. You win that fight, you move on. Batman definitely took it from the sound of it, to the next level by get an in-game reward other than arbitrary, meaningless points.
I mean,
Yeah.
you still get points, but it is,
Yeah.
you do get that benefit if you catch it. And you,
There's something more. There's something.
Right.
So something. There's a payoff visually.
Well, and that's in it's the big, if I'm remembering correctly, it's the big tough stomp downs, which can take down whatever enemy you happen to grab after stringing 6 together in a row. And that's exactly how the combat in Shadow of Mordor works, except instead of breaking their leg or whatever, you're stabbing them in the neck and then cutting their head off, and you can continue the chain and get more and more power ups. So did you guys? It was Arkham Asylum, right? And then it progressed to
Arkham
Arkham
City.
City. Did you guys play that one?
Yeah,
I played all of it.
I played all of it,
Yeah.
all the things.
What'd you think?
All of them.
Um,
Oh, it's great. I would go back and play it again. All 3 of them.
I never got through. Is it Arkham Origins? Is the third one?
Yeah.
Because that one glitched on me. I got.
It was the shortest one,
Suck.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
It was the prettiest, but it was the shortest.
Well, they also changed developers,
Yeah.
didn't they? Or
They
What
did.
was the glitch you had?
well, I went through the floor or the ground and saw the city in reverse
Nice.
on a time trial, and I couldn't get out of it.
Sweet.
So
Yay.
I am now underground in the Upside Down, I guess. Like
Mole
just-
Man. No longer the Batman.
Was Origins good? Because I know there's I think there's a 4th one that people just don't talk about because it was really bad.
There's Origins, and then
City.
Knight, Arkham
Origins,
Knight.
Knight.
Yeah. I know it might have been Origins that they didn't think was so good. But I know the first 2 are great. Batman Arkham Asylum won Game of the Year, as I recall. So that was pretty good. Anybody else have any Batman thoughts? All right, cool. So I guess we'll talk about the last one for the night because obviously there's tons and tons and tons of material. Star Wars has about 1 billion games ranging from very good to very, very bad. I will say my one experience when I got the original Xbox, it came with a demo CD containing both Tetris, which might I say is the most boring game in the world, and also Star Wars, I think the Clone Wars.
That came with the original Xbox, didn't it?
Yeah.
I had the same one.
Yeah, and basically the way that you would drive, it was all vehicle based, so you didn't actually get to see any cool Jedi shit. All you had to do was hold the strafe right button and fire. And eventually you would circle around your enemies enough that they would die.
I had fun with it because I didn't find that exploit, or at least not until the late game. I don't remember specifically. But I mean, there were fun moments. It wasn't hard. You're right.
I mean, granted, I got it for free as a demo, but it was a little rough.
Yeah.
Great game, Star Wars Pod Racing on the original N64.
Ooh,
I think
yeah.
it's still
I think that's my favorite one
Yeah?
of
It's
all the
hard.
Star Wars games.
Mine's Shadow of the Empire on Nintendo 64.
I think it's the only one that I've seriously played.
Well, why did you like Pod Racers so much?
Well, I was a kid when I played it on N64. I liked the pod racing. I've always liked racing games for the most part. And I really liked the mechanic of like winning races and like building up your little pod racer to be better over time. I really like racing games like that. I mentioned Test Drive Off-Road before earlier on the podcast a couple ones ago. That was a similar mechanic where you would race in a league, and when you won, you got money that you could use to upgrade your car, or in this case, pod racer for Star Wars. And I really like that mechanic. It makes a racing game much more interesting to me.
That was another game where I essentially permadeathed. I switched between racers, and when you resell parts, you lose a lot of money. I think I was like 12 when I did this. I sold stuff to try to buy something to make Anakin better because he could handle better in this one level, and I ran out of it. I ran out of money to make him better, and the only thing I could do was sell my parts. But I would just there was no way for me to get enough money to make a racer that could compete at this race that I needed to advance. So I just lost the game. That was it.
The
It was
game's
over.
hard. I replayed it for like a few rounds, just like quick mode or whatever it was with my friend like a year and a half ago. Oh my God, it's so hard. There was one level and we were playing and I just kept hitting shit.
Yeah,
And I just kept dying and I
then
couldn't
you
win.
explode.
And you're like in 8th place or whatever the last place was. I was always in last place.
Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't beat that game till I was an adult and went back to it and could manage my money better. Right.
It's the hardest racing game I've ever played, I think.
It's pretty great though. What's another? You said.
Battlefront.
Shadows of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire.
Tell us about that one.
Basically, you were this character named Dash Rendar, and he was like, he's pretty much a smuggler like Han Solo. He had a ship like Han Solo called the Outrider. I think he had his own Wookiee too.
Oh my goodness.
So it was Han Solo.
So he's basically
Discount Han Solo.
right? Basically, no, but he's actually a real character in the expanded universe. And you basically, the game starts out at the Battle of Hoth in Empire Strikes Back, and then pretty much after that battle, you get stuck on Hoth, and then you have to get to your ship, and then next thing you know, you're going on like all the stuff in between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
I recently bought that for like $2 on Steam. It's fucking hard as shit.
Yeah.
Because you move horribly. I mean, you move like you know old games would move. Everything still looks really old, and you move that way. But what happens is like I run into a room, and I'm used to like being able to quick look around. If I run into a room, there's an enemy. Like as soon as my first pixel breaches the wall, pew, pew, blastering me, and they don't miss. It's not like the
Not like the movies?
Not like the movies.
They don't
No.
miss.
There was a Star Wars Game Boy game where you're like Luke and you end up leaving and you're driving a little land speeder around. I played that game for probably 25 hours. I beat.
Oh, you know what? I played that too.
It was the hardest fucking piece of shit ever. It just not like you would get to the one area of the map and if you bumped a rock that looked like every other rock, you just took damage. There wasn't health around. You had to start the game again because surely you'd be killed by some surprise droid. Like everything you try to do took forever. I never progressed.
Yeah, I didn't get very far.
I think the only other Star Wars game that I played other than the Pod Racer was Battlefront.
Great game.
What'd you
The
think of
second
that?
Battlefront
Yes.
for Xbox One or 360 or whatever that EA made. That's basically Battlefield but Star Wars.
Oh, you've only played that one?
Yeah, I never played the other one.
Yeah,
you
I've only
think of
ever
it?
played Battlefront 2 also. Thoughts?
I played the original Battlefront, and that was solid. That was a good one. The levels were. I actually liked the levels in that one a little bit more. I thought they were more richly done than in Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2. But that included space battles, and there's this mode called Space Conquest that we're all going to have to play against each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty fucking sweet. You played it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, the levels themselves, when you're on the different planets and you pick whatever side you're on, right? And you do a battle and whoever wins and doesn't die wins, right? But I loved the space battles. That was fun. It was
Yeah,
just like
you can-
another added element.
You can fly from your ship to the enemy ship, get in, and start fucking it up from the inside.
No, which my brother and I used to play that game all the time. We'd always do the conquest, right? Because we'd always just want to like fuck shit up, take over the entire galaxy and whatnot. We had like our own methods for the space thing. So we'd both jump in a ship, right? So we'd fly over to the other ship's main hangar, right? I'd drop him off so he could go fuck shit up inside. I'd go steal their bomber because the other team, I think it was like the Empire we would play against. They always had the best bomber. So I'd steal their bomber and just go out the outside and just keep doing loops, right? Doing loops and destroying things. And in like 5 minutes, you won.
Now,
It was great.
Did Frank, the new one? What'd you think of the new one? The newest Battlefront?
Well, I didn't play the new Battlefront 2. I just played the Battlefront, which came out like 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
say. I picked it up a couple of months ago when Battlefront 2 was coming out because it was on sale for like $5. I
Oh.
think it was $4.50 actually.
And you liked it?
Yeah, it was okay.
I played with much resistance. I ended up playing the new Battlefront 2 that somebody had. It looks amazing.
It does look really
Yeah.
It
good.
plays so well. I mean, it is such an enjoyable game. But EA's fucked.
Yeah.
On that
Yeah, I won't buy
note, did you hear that Microsoft is rumored to be looking to buy EA?
I think we mentioned the rumor on the last episode, but if not, then yes, I have heard it.
I sort of feel like EA could only go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've sort of hit bottom.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess we'll wrap this section with mention of probably the best Star Wars game out there because it's one of the best Star Wars games ever made. And don't spoil it. We talked about this before. I will play it. Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the...
Coder.
It's KOTOR. It is incredible. If you've never played it, play it. But I don't think that there's a series, any sort of IP that has the number of great games that Star Wars does.
And interesting, I think we fairly enough surmised also many, many shitty ones.
Yeah.
Kind of like the movies. It's weird how that tracks.
Yeah.
Like just the full spread of dog shit and excellence.
And the prequel trilogy of games were just as shitty, if not more shitty, than the movies.
No way.
So
Because
the
there's
pod
pod racers.
Besides pod racers, maybe?
Yeah. Okay. Besides pod racers.
At least they're consistent.
So good. I had to resist.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to take a break. I'm actually making some bacon.
Making bacon. Be right back.
right, we're back with Two Guns No Ammunition, and we have a sponsor for this episode. This segment is sponsored by Chalk D Athletics, Delaware's only traditional style Muay Thai gym. No matter what age you are, Chalk D Athletics is your #1 for Muay Thai in Delaware. The program includes fitness, self-defense, and techniques which will give you confidence and get you in shape at the same time. Located in Lantana Square in Hocastin, Delaware, it's your only stop to meet your 2018 goals. Group classes and private training available. Just go to chalkdathletics.com, which is CHOKDEE, athletics.com. Check out our website and click the sign up button for your free introductory class with head instructor Crew Joe Stripling.
The most important thing being that you'll learn to punch and kick things.
Yeah, and elbow and knee though.
As we
It's
established
fun.
on the previous episode.
All right, so this section, we're going to talk about zombie games, and as it was Frank's idea, I'm going to let him take the lead on this one.
Yeah. So I think that there are a good way to talk about this would be to break it down into the different types of zombie games that are out there.
Okay.
There are, as you mentioned, with the Resident Evil games, the survival horror games. There are the massive horde shoot 'em up style games, a la Dead Rising.
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead is another one. And then there is kind of like the like post-apocalyptic ones, like let's say The Last of Us, right? Which I think is more of a not necessarily zombie. They're zombies, right? They're basically
they're not
zombies.
called zombies.
Yeah, we'll just say they're zombies.
Yeah.
All right, because they basically are functionally zombies.
Okay.
So I mean, when it comes down to preference, I would say my preference would probably be the survival horror type. I think that makes it better. Though I understand arguments for the other two categories.
Yeah, in a game that is set up as a survival horror with limited resources, speaking directly to the Resident Evil, right? You have so little resources that you can just run around the enemies, but it still makes it exciting because if they do get you, you're in big trouble. So I'd agree with that. Did you say Silent Hill's also that way?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, it's not a zombie game, but yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
That's more of a demon monster type game in general. But I mean, it's basically the same thing.
Right. If we're talking hordes and hordes of slow zombies in a game where I'm OP and I can shoot 1,000,000 bullets, that doesn't really appeal to me.
I thought Left 4 Dead was really good though. Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 is actually even better than
They
Left 4
added
Dead.
melee.
Yeah.
They weren't slow. They were
No.
Not all of them.
but none of them. They all ran. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The big thing of that with that game was the team play aspect and the overall speed of the the game felt fast.
Mhm.
In addition to the zombies being fast, like it was you could play it like a Twitch shooter.
Yeah.
Just zipping around like, oh fuck, million zombies, and then the various enemy types, right? So there were the cannon fodder zombies, but especially like with online multiplayer where you could also play as the zombies, you would spawn as I forget what they were called now, but the big fat one that would explode in goo.
Bloater.
Yeah. That one, the smoker with the tongue that would strangle people.
Yeah. Was there some
jockey.
super fast one that was like crazy on steroids?
Yeah, it was one that would jump on the human soldiers and like just punch it and like bite it and shit.
Yeah.
So
there was the jockey that would control you.
that was the jockey. That's what I was referring to.
Then there's one that would come in that like could run you into the wall and then
Yeah, the charger.
Charger.
Yeah. So the big thing with Left 4 Dead was the ability to one, play as the zombies also, and two, the respective team elements that brought for either side.
I really enjoyed having the option, and for me, the game playing as those specialized zombies really made the game for me because your 4 human characters, you're up to 4 human characters, are basically interchangeable. I mean, their color flavor is a little different, the things that they say, but basically they perform in the same manner.
Am human, have weapons, fight zombies.
Right, and then you're playing as a zombie who has like a fungible horde ahead of them when you're playing as the zombies, and you're one of 5 or 6 specialized classes. And if you fuck it up, if you just run out, you're going to get beat down. But if you wait and time it correctly, you're actually playing as a computer monster. It's pretty sweet, You're playing as those villains we used to fight back in the day, and that's not even counting the tank in that game. The tank being this big, huge zombie that would come in and it took, I don't know, what was it?
Took a lot. It was a bullet sponge. I don't remember. It could I think it could throw like slabs of concrete.
Yeah.
It had like some overlap with what the charger could do. It hit really fucking hard. It could like launch the human players. It would just knock them around.
Yeah.
And they were bullet sponges. It took forever to take down.
But
and it was actually a separate metric at the end of the level, the amount of damage done to the tank. It was one of the stats by which the humans would be ranked.
And when it came to the weaker specialized zombies, they all had different powers. So the smoker would like shoot its tongue out and wrap around a player's neck and pull them away. And now a human could save them by simply shooting the tongue or cutting the tongue and knocking them free. But if you got somebody who was in the back of the pack and you were above them, you could choke them and then pull them up to dangle in the air until they strangled to death, right? The jockey, if you waited in a good corner and they sort of got bottlenecked, you could jump on a human and then pull them into a crowd of zombies, and then the dumb crowd would beat them down. But your friends had to be far away. It was all about staying, as a human player, it was all about staying with the group and trying not to set off the horde, which could be a car alarm or whatever. And as the specialized zombies was trying to get a straggler, trying to get somebody who went a little too far away, except for the charger, right? You could pick anybody up closer to you and just run them into the furthest wall away, and there's nothing they could do.
Nothing.
And so if you had a football field and you ran them from one end to the other, they were pretty fucked.
Yeah, pretty great. Where in those categories you mentioned, Frank, would you consider games like 7 Days to Die and DayZ, where there's like a heavy crafting element, a PvP element, and you're just like surviving for extended periods of time?
I would classify those as like a survival horror type. It's less horror, but plenty of survival. Because I was actually thinking about that after I grouped those, and I mean, you could probably even split off that survival-based category of its own subsection of survival horror, because I was thinking of State of Decay, which I talked about a long time ago on the podcast. That's one where it's very focused on amassing resources, building outposts, that kind of thing. And it is limited resources, right? A lot of you barely have any ammo for a lot of the game, and you can't carry much with you. So you're focused on doing like tiny little missions to go gather supplies to build your base and do all that kind of stuff. I fall back to those really as my favorites. Not saying I don't like I love Left 4 Dead. Dead Rising was the one. I think the original Dead Rising debuted with the Xbox 360 probably about 10, 12 years ago. I had it. It was one of the first games, I think, that was pretty much designed for and solely operated in full 1080p HD, which is pretty interesting.
I never got very far in that game. I found it the novelty wore off pretty quick. I don't know if you ever finished it.
I did, but it took a while, and you're right, the novelty. So for those who don't know, because this is a pretty old game, the novelty of the game was that you could use, you were stuck in a mall with a bunch of zombies, right? And pretty much anything was a weapon. You could run around to the mall and pick you could throw CDs at the zombies. You can go over to the hardware store and you can get hedge clippers. You could throw TVs at them. It was pretty.
Riding mowers, chainsaws, shopping carts, the works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty ridiculous.
It didn't take itself seriously, and that definitely lended to its charm. I think I just got stuck at one point and got bored trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty difficult game. Killing zombies was not difficult, but accomplishing the objectives that you needed to was actually pretty difficult.
Pretty strict time limits.
Exactly. It was you had all the time in the world, and that was kind of the fun of the game, was just seeing different ways you could kill zombies in a mall. and I remember specifically they show when the game starts, the town in Colorado that the game is in. I don't think it's a real town, but it shows the name of the town, and it has the population on the sign. And when you kill, there's a kill counter in the game, and when you kill that many zombies in the game, you get an achievement for it.
Did you play? Well, actually, my first question: what are the zombies like in DayZ? Because I keep hearing it thrown around as a good game, but I don't know anything about the gameplay. Isn't it built off of the Arma engine?
Yeah, that Unreal Engine that PUBG is also, and 7 Days to Die,
Also,
based off of it.
How do you
and H1Z1.
How do you end up
I
interacting?
haven't
with
seen
zombies?
very much DayZ. 7 Days to Die works on a day clock, so during daylight hours the zombies are slow, and at night they speed up and hit harder.
Ooh.
So that they'll run at you. So you have to like use your time wisely in the daytime to gather resources, and then find a place to hole up effectively and try not to trigger the horde. And the whole theme of 7 days is that on days in intervals of 7 days, once per in-game week, all the zombies reset and hordes generate, and they'll just kind of wander. And they have, if you're like carrying meat, they'll smell it and stuff. Totally dodging your question about DayZ, I just have no familiarity with it, and I think they do run on the same engine.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it is similar to 7 Days to Die in that they're kind of pretty tame during the day and then get pretty outrageous at night. And they hit pretty hard, but I mean, regardless, like both of those games are like actually awesome.
I think what I've seen of DayZ, I think the combat is better, especially PvP. From a little I've seen of it, I've seen much more 7 Days to Die because of what's that channel on YouTube?
Gamers Society, isn't it?
Game Society
Yes.
pimps before the YouTube thing, and then got rid of the pimps part. But Game Society has an excellent. They do the thing with many of their streams, including 7 Days to Die, where they like generate a lore. So like the two main protagonists have a character they play, and they just fuck on each other. They constantly break the fourth wall and shit, but you know it's pretty funny. So and you know later on they start playing with mods and like patrons from their Patreon stuff. But because I fell in love with that series they made, that's the only reason I know anything about 7 Days to Die. I have not found anything comparable for DayZ, nor have I played it. I don't know if anyone here has.
No.
I have not. I've just watched a little bit of it when I became interested in it, and I mean, you know, it looks like a lot of fun. And being that I tend to like zombie games, I probably would enjoy it, but that would also require me to stop playing Civ 6 and PUBG.
Yeah, all I've seen of DayZ is videos of people betraying other people.
Yeah, that's generally what I see too, is people being massive dicks to one another.
Yeah. Okay, has anybody in the room played Dying Light?
No.
Never even
Nope.
heard of it, actually.
I think Dying Light is another
I've heard of it.
sort of zombie game. I watched two best friends do a playthrough of it. Yeah, first-person action survival. There's basically zombies around, and I think you sort of parkour your way through the city. It was way, way, way faster moving than I expected it to be the first time I saw it. And the way that, first off, it looks incredible. I mean, it just looks beautiful. It's first person, and if I recall correctly, you can move around pretty well until you fuck up, and then you have to get away, right? If it's dark, sometimes, if it's dark, I think they're more active, and you end up running into a bunch of zombies, and you got to try to climb over buildings and stuff to get away. And it's another one of those where it's really easy to die.
This just sounds a bit like Mirror's Edge with zombies.
Yeah, that's sort of the vibe I got from it.
Not a zombie game in its own right, but because I am a insane Fallout 4 person, there is a mod that changes the ghouls in Fallout 4 to zombies and makes it so that anything other than headshots does very little damage, but headshots are likely to kill them in 1 or 2 hits. So that's kind of fun, and it also does things like gets rid of their running ability and their like jump attacks, so they'll all shamble, and then it adds hundreds more of them. And if they hit you, it fucking hurts. So it's like, you know, kind of turns the Fallout ghouls into more George Romero zombies where there are dire consequences to fucking up. But it's still Fallout 4, so you have VATS and what have you. You know, everything else applies.
How do you guys feel about those zombies that
I don't remember the author.
you, like, somebody walks by a bush and a zombie bites him in the leg? Like, I get that it's, I guess, presumably realistic, but they've used it a number of times in like The Walking Dead, and I always go, ugh, are you kidding me? It sort of seems to like deflate the story for me. I don't know.
Kind of. It's like there's you might as well make them rattlesnakes if they're just going to be lurking in every fucking bush. All right, asshole, douchebag.
I bit
Like,
through your boot.
Like, were your instincts really driving you to sit there and wait? You idiot zombie.
They're evolving.
Apparently.
They're learning.
They're learning.
God.
Yeah, exactly. They're
My
getting
God.
smart.
They were watching Call of Duty and
They were
learning how to
camping?
camp.
What
At
speaking
least they don't have AA-12s.
speaking of which, is there a standalone Call of Duty Zambies?
Not a standalone, but it's included in the past couple of games.
What do you think of those zombies?
Oh, I mean, the original.
I think we and many other people have gotten lots of mileage out of
The original
particularly
Black
Black
Ops,
Ops
at least.
zombies.
Yeah, some of them are really, really good. Some of them leave some to be desired. Was it Advanced War? No.
World at War was the first one.
I'm trying to think. There was one that came out. It was one of the threes. Maybe it was Black Ops 3. It was maybe something other one, but it was I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago that it came out. And it had a zombies in it, and it was back to pretty good. And it started to get to the point where like the maps had a bunch of different secrets that you could unlock, and there was kind of like a story behind each one. It was pretty interesting. It was interesting to see what they did with it, and as opposed to just making it like just run around and shoot hordes of zombies.
I appreciate that.
Now, what are your guys' opinions on the abilities of zombies? Like, I remember with some joy a game, I couldn't tell you the name of it, but zombies can pick up guns. They don't really know how to use them, but they're just like, like pull. They're like, you imagine that they're just fiddling with the trigger and it happens to go off. So they don't actually aim at you; it just blasts.
Just shoots somewhere.
Yeah. So like that was probably. I mean, that's some fine motor skill getting that finger in there.
That's what she said.
Left 4
That's
Dead
what he
has
said.
zombies.
Also, yes.
Zombies climbing, which I guess if you're rotting like in The Walking Dead, you'd think that
Your muscles don't work.
maggot bones shouldn't be able to climb. But I don't know. There's, if you recall the book World War Z, I think they talked about how like any sort of wall is useless against a zombie because eventually they will just pile up bodies enough that they can walk over and fall down. What do you guys think about the different limitations of zombie abilities?
Well, there's so many different iterations of zombies, aren't there? Those abilities change. I mean, if we go back to the arguably source material of the old George A. Romero movies, George Romero movies, they're slow and shambling, and it's almost a wonder how anyone gets killed by them. But nevertheless, people panic because it's fucking weird and scary, and they still wind up getting captured. And I think I haven't seen those movies in quite a while, so I don't necessarily remember what powers were unique to them. But the main thing was that they were formerly dead humans who rise from the earth and now hunger for flesh. And I think they had to be hit in the head. I think that was the origin of that. And they were slow for anatomical reasons.
Maggot bones.
Maggot bones, specifically, being the medical term. But, I mean, there's other ones, too. We already went over many differing examples. I'm kind of curious if you can narrow the question at all.
Well,
Like, do we think there's an advantage to one kind or preferable play?
I think that, like I said before, I have enjoyed, did I say this? I have enjoyed certain exhibitions of zombiedom where they're really slow. When I think of things like The Walking Dead, like the TV series, back when I watched it, that ended up being one of my major issues. They're slow and shambling, and these people are highly mobile, and they are armed, and they could simply create a tool. Like if you had one of those old long spikes or something, or you could find a farm harvester, or you ended up in Chicago with slaughterhouses and stuff. Having unrestricted individuals in a slow zombie setting, to me, seems like you either have to make it so, like, confine them like in Resident Evil and limit their resources, or else it just doesn't really hold up.
Well, kind of in response to that, they're slow and people are mobile. However, people also need to have a place to be stationary, home. And zombies, while they're slow, they're sort of an unstoppable force. A slow hungry source.
There's also so many of them.
Right.
But eventually
so it
there
winds
won't
up being
be.
like, like you being able to plant roots. In The Walking Dead, everyone, I only saw the first 4 seasons, and then I fell off because who gives a shit. But season 2, a lot of people bitch about, but it's kind of what I'm getting at. When they're on that farm for the whole season, and it works because the zombies have not found them, and all those zombies that were already there have been penned up and or killed in the barn, right, or through other traps and what have you. So they found a way to handle it until the internal politics that the humans are dealing with winds up attracting more. And when that horde comes at the end of season 2, they don't have enough bullets, even though every human has auto aim for the head in that show. Like, it doesn't matter. There's still too many zombies and not enough bullets. And in a society where the gun shops aren't operational, have already been looted. I think by that point they're already at least a year in to the epidemic. In the show, there's practical limitations to their ability to deal with the sheer unyielding nature of zombies and the volume, to G's point.
So, Jake, would you say that they're all have 2 guns and yet no ammunition?
They have many more than 2 guns and very little ammunition.
Very different than what I proposed.
Totally different.
I see.
Same idea. I see where you're coming from with that, and that could be that could be a pretty decent name for like a gaming podcast or something.
Many guns.
I may have heard of it. That's
Many
probably-
guns and
Many
very
guns and
little ammunition.
Many guns and few bullets. Maybe we should do that. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe
All right,
I
rebrand.
don't want to rip on a TV show or anything, but the part about it is that always got me is like, they would see a zombie on the side of the road and not simply kill it. Like they would just pass it by, even though it was slow. And we see them all the time stabbing zombies in the head. And the reason I commented on this sense is that, like, in a game, all these things that we imagine that they could do, a gamer would try to do. And I think eventually slow zombies with a lot of options, even if there were big groups of them, I think eventually, like, in gameplay, you would wear it down.
I think you're right.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you're right, and they definitely in the show make mistakes like that, and you want to stab them in the head for doing it. I think you have a point, but I think that's more of a writing decision on that show's part than but more so than it is any kind of real advantage. I mean, keep in mind, sticking with the Walking Dead television series, what I've seen of it, these are isolated pockets of humans, sometimes just individuals who are finding ways to get by, and the greater society has totally crumbled. Right, with the exception of they find small ones that pop up, the governor, and then I think Negan, who I only know through memes at this point because I stopped watching the show.
Meme gun.
Yeah, with the wire up baseball bat, thinking he's tough. Like these are enigmatic, charismatic people who form little societies, and they devise as a group effective ways to manage the threat, and they have success for whatever other faults they may have. But this is a country of over 300 million people, right? So if you flip the switch tomorrow and the zombie apocalypse hits, and also hips, why not?
Also, yeah, why not
And,
zombie hips?
I mean,
Zombie maggot hips.
I ain't bonused.
Bonused.
But except for maggot bones, I'll fuck with that.
You don't like maggot bones?
Yeah, don't.
Not even maggot hip bones?
What's the meme, Chris? Don't hit me miss me with that game.
Oh, yeah, miss me with that
Gay
shit.
I'm surprised Frank didn't jump on that. I got a maggot bone for you.
I got a bag and bone.
I was actually, if I was gonna go anything, I was gonna go with my hips, my lovely zombie hips.
Oh my goodness.
Very good. A plus.
The monotone delivery is what really brought it
Drives it
home.
home,
Yeah.
So, what was the question? I don't even remember what I
I don't remember what my answer. Where
You
my
were
answer was going.
you were asking about basically like what kind of zombie
is best for
is
gameplay.
best. Yeah.
So I do like the really fast zombies.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge in like a pinnacle of achievement, I think, in the zombie genre is Last of Us, which isn't. They're not per se zombies. They're like infected with some fungus, but
Which is a real thing in nature and where they got the idea from.
right. So what happens is you end up having to stealth through with a partner, Ellie, who thank goodness isn't detectable because she fucking clomps around like a goober sometimes, just runs out in the open, and you're like, do they see her? No. So you hear them, and they have different ways of detecting you. And if you make noise, they fucking haul ass, and you're fucked. Unless you smash a bottle in their face and run away or something like that. Shoot them real good. I know aside from a scenario like Left 4 Dead where they're really, really weak, and I like how in Left 4 Dead they kill you by simply flailing their arms with no form. They just rotate, and
They have no motor skill.
yes, they just, like, I guess I just imagine like even a million little children doing that to you. Eventually, you would succumb to your wounds. But you know, you can't have a million fast zombies like unless you have a monster truck. I guess I don't know, but that really. By saying fast zombies, you really sort of limit yourself to a couple styles of gameplay where they're very weak and you're very strong, or a stealth style. And I guess I like them both. I don't know.
I've never actually played a zombie game, but the closest I can say is Amnesia: Dark Descent with the Mondoos.
Ooh, that is such a good game.
In that game, which I like because I guess you couldn't really say that they're very strong. It's kind of like get you and you have to start over again. But I do really like the stealth aspect to it where you have to hide from them or run away from them and hide. Like as soon as there's a part or one level, which I never got to, but I know I've seen it in footage before, where as soon as you open a door, one of them's right behind it and it's like coming at you. So you have to haul ass backwards and get away from it. Because if I remember correctly, there's not really a way to kill them. You just have to avoid them. Maybe
you can fight them off after like one blow, but the second one will kill you.
Yeah, something like that. Like you really don't have much of an option. Like you've got this whole other stuff with the sanity meter and other things going on. Limited resources. You only have so much oil for your lamp. You know, it's a survival game pretty much, but you're contained into this one fortress castle location. But I like the survival and stealth part of it where you're kind of trying to outmaneuver these monsters. It's not so much like brute force or just attacking these things. You're kind of doing a puzzle.
You know, and I know that those are even further from zombies than we were talking about, but this is one of those aspects of like classification. I think on our not the first one, maybe the second or third one, we talk about what is a gamer, and we all sort of settled on this idea that a more inclusive view of the term is beneficial for the community. And I feel that way about zombies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would definitely want to be inclusive for zombies. We would not want to isolate them or disenfranchise them or discriminate against any of them.
Zombie rights.
I mean, gender equality, guys.
Did anybody in this room ever play anything from the Dynasty Warrior series?
I've seen quite a bit of it.
Oh, boy. If you're not familiar, it's set in like...
Might as well be zombies.
Ancient China, and you're some super strong samurai, and you just...
So how is that pronounced again?
Who are Chinese.
Or
Samurai.
now Chinese?
Who are now Chinese.
Is it Japan?
No, it's definitely China.
It's China.
But
Bill
with
was
samurai.
wrong about samurai. And that,
okay.
I vote you proceed.
Well, whatever the Chinese version is.
We don't discriminate.
What do they call them?
They
The
don't,
Chinese
General
samurai.
So.
you are General So.
General
And you
So.
hurl endless chickens.
Chicken.
you like rode around your horse with your big sword as a not samurai, and you basically cut down waves of fungible soldiers. I mean, you know, they'll never see their families again, but it's fun.
What families?
Until you cut through and whatever, and then all of a sudden over the hill comes General Lu Bu. He's like this big badass with a bunch of fucking ornamental shit, swinging a big spear, and you got to fight him. It's a great time. You are so strong. The enemies are so weak until the bosses. You literally cut down like thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I want that with zombos. I want them run around and just cut them down. They could be wearing cool outfits. I don't give a fuck. And I want cool zombie men on a horse zombie come over the hill and gobble, 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 gobble. And then
They're turkeys. They're turkey zombies. Chinese turkey zombies.
How do you think zombies talk?
There could be human ones too, though. Right? Other like survivors who were as strong as you.
Yeah. You can get allies coming in. I want that. Get on it. universe, make me a zombie Dynasty Warriors.
Zombesty Warriors.
Zombesty Warriors.
My goodness gracious. I just like this
All right,
idea.
let's start a GoFundMe.
I like this idea that perhaps the zombies have created an ordered hierarchy. So
but they still like walk around like assholes, like swinging their arms.
It could have like the Shadow of Mordor system.
Oh yeah, we kill one, another one ascends. Oh,
Combine all the things.
Oh my god.
Zambo Brain Eater ascended to rank of captain.
And then it's just an animation of
He has an extra row of teeth now, I guess.
Captain.
they slowly
Soup
get more
Brain.
body parts back.
He has 2 extra arms. He's walking around like Machamp.
Captain Soup Bones. His super ability is I don't know. He likes the rain.
Soup Bones?
Yeah. I have soup brains.
Wait, are they gonna be chanting their names
He's
too?
got a bowl of
Soup
soup.
bones,
He's real
soup
hot.
bones, soup bones,
Glorb,
soup
glorb,
bones.
glorb, glorb.
Yeah, like they can't actually say it, so it's like close to the syllable. Yeah, bone, yeah, bone.
We're not even drunk.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
Where to
I
go
think
from
all
here?
my ideas are gone after that one. That was as hard and as good as I could possibly get it.
Shadows of Zombinus. What do we call it?
Zombinasty.
Zombinasty.
Shadows of Zombinasty
I
Warriors.
think I said Zombesty.
Zombesty.
Zombinasty Warriors.
Okay.
That's
And
it.
that really
Shadows of
tells
Zombesty-
everyone listening
Zombesty.
about the quality of our ideas.
Top
Only the
notch.
highest.
Envied by all the corporate world.
All right,
Guys, we
Frank,
haven't
tell me
even
your idea.
done-
We've already gone over my ideal
Well,
zombie
Not even
game.
close to peaking.
I already went over my ideal zombie game. Frank, why don't you tell us yours?
I think mine is pretty close to where State of Decay was, where there is a story mode that you can have that is based around the core mechanics of the game, which involve gathering resources, building up a base, doing supply runs, and killing a bunch of zombies, but also having to avoid them because when you see the giant hordes running around, you don't want to piss them off. And then also having the sandbox mode where you can just kind of like, there's no story, you just kind of build and gather and kill zombies and see how long you can survive. That's what State of Decay 2 is looking like. It should be coming out pretty soon. They showed it off at E3 last year back in June. I think I talked about it on this podcast about how I was really looking forward to it, and they said it was going to come out first quarter this year, maybe at most like April at the
We got
latest.
a month and a half left.
Yeah. So it should be out pretty soon. I'm looking forward to it. But I really like that. Like DayZ also is another one where it's just kind of like, a big part of it is, the crafting, gathering supplies, building stuff up. I really enjoy that aspect of most games. It's one of the reasons why I liked Fallout 4 so much, despite some of my misgivings that I've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
You have the settlement building, and I really enjoy that.
And with mods, that settlement building really, really blossoms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I totally forgot about a game that I watched, The Evil Within 2.
Ooh.
Okay, so you basically,
Electric Boogaloo.
there's a big shadowy government organization that matrixes you into this world that is just for your mind. But
I hate when that happens.
But I know you trip and fall on
It
a
happens
Saturday.
too much. Like,
Yes, that is the joke. Has she ascended to your level of anti-joke greatness?
Derailed.
Yeah. So anyway, you get put into this Matrix world, and the world is set in. It has to find a person's brain as the platform on, like, basically the server, to run the system to put people in. So what does the government do? They're like, we need certain tendencies. We need like an unchecked ego, but something else. I don't know. They do say brain psychology stuff. Whatever. Fuck them. So basically, they just take a little girl and they go, "This is great, 12-year-old girl. Let's throw her ass in there."
that's
And they
a good
fuck-
soundbite.
Yeah.
All right, honey, throwing you in there. Get your
Throw
ass
her
ready.
ass in there.
So they
Don't mind the boy peen.
The
yeah.
boy fiend. The
So the
tiny
ma-
boy fiend.
the main character basically thinks his daughter's been killed in a fire and he didn't save her. Well, turns out she's been kidnapped by the government instead.
And is now a gaming server.
Again,
Yeah.
hate when that happens.
And this, the father was like, this is fucking Genevieve's cracking me up. Are you fucking kidding me with that joke? Again? We made it.
It works again, okay?
So,
2 punch.
oh boy. He actually went into a previous Mind server game thing before, and he wrecked all the zombies. So they're like, government's like, hey, we got a problem with we took your kid, and you got to solve the problem, then we'll set her free. Yeah, right. But it is a zombie game, and the thing about it is, like, as the little girl's like mental state is degrading, the world starts to fucking fall apart, disappear into the abyss, and parts of it will rip apart and float away. Part of this little town, everybody's supposed to be living in a happy little town, and you look at how the government agents they kidnap other people, I think, and make them the inhabitants, and then they fool them. Well, the girl starts to fall apart. They all get corrupted and turned into zombies, and there are a couple people in there who are basically Neos in the Matrix, and they turn really, really evil, and they murder everybody, and then they try to murder you. But it is stealth-based, but it's got sweet weapons, like your basic shotgun, pistol, rifle, all the stuff that you can upgrade. But then there are crossbows with exploding flame arrows and shit.
Staple of any good shooter.
And there's this horrible, like 14-foot tall lady monster Zambi, and she's just like, when you come across her, she's just like, but in like,
wait.
R.I.P. Everyone listening.
But like in zombie voice, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm fucked right now, because then all the horde comes after you. It is very exciting. The combat, they force you basically to go across these worlds, do a little bit of backtracking, but they have like monsters, like, your typical dead bodies laying on the ground. If you walk past them, they get up, and there is Zambi too.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Zambies in a Zambi game.
But there's
revolutionary.
But they're smart. The thing is, they're smart about the layout. So they let you fuck up. So if you start checking your corners and you start shooting corpses, then you do better. You can upgrade your weapons so that things are a lot easier to kill. It's just a really, really well done game. And the combat, in an essentially stealth game, they do a really great job with the combat. So I recommend Evil Within 2 if you're thinking about it. I don't know so much about the first one. The second one is that much better. Ooh, I forgot. There's a boss in this game that is basically the manifestations of the evil guys.
Of a praying mantis? What was that with?
No,
Well,
I'll tell
a
you.
cat.
It's
I don't
like
know.
Sometimes I really wish we had a camera on you, Bill.
Well, this guy.
There's so many hand gestures.
Okay, so
that
the
go
evil
along.
guy, what his big thing is, he can like manipulate time, and the government already sent in this special unit, like a SWAT team or a hit team or whatever, to get the personnel that they needed and then destroy the world, and then the girl would die because they don't care, they're the government. Well, they all disappear, get fucked, and they're like, hey, whatever your name is, figure out where they are. So you go in, and this guy's like murdering people, but he'll like just slash their throat or whatever. But then he sets up a picture, so right as he kills you, it takes a picture, and then in that field, time is slowed. So you see like blood shooting, like in the middle of the room. You walk in, and it looks, there's a little bit of a lens on it, blood shooting out of somebody's neck, like into space, and then it goes back to start, just over and over again. And also, in like one guy like getting shot with a rifle,
Murder gifts.
Murder gifts.
pretty much. But you can like walk into it and interact with it. But that's his thing. So anyway, he thinks he's like this great artist, and you end up fighting this monster that is an embodiment of his own idea of how great of an artist he is. It is I would estimate 9-foot tall camera monster with a camera for a head, that walks around on giant like stitched with barbed wire legs that have ballerina shoe feet.
This is
So,
my life goals.
5 of these horrible legs that have like 3 joints in them, up to basically a big pillar of a head whose eye is a camera.
And with that, I am aroused.
Yeah. And so like that's what I was doing, the little like praying mantis hands. That's how it walks.
On the ballerina feet.
Yeah, but it's huge. And they look at you Like, this game is spooky with the sounds, man. Spooky.
Sound design is so crucial. We can have a whole podcast. I think we did actually.
Yeah, but the imagination that goes into this game, and I gotta say, every one of these bosses was a great time, an absolute great time. Do recommend. Okay. Anybody else have their ideal zombie game they want to go over? No.
No, I think I'm still sticking with my stealth, survival. I like that best.
Frank, Chris.
Yes, Frank.
Your ideal zombie game would be ones that pick delicious Jersey tomatoes and then make you tomato sandwiches?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Okay, good. All right.
Mayonnaise.
Some Jersey Zambies.
Those things are gross.
Tomato Zambies.
Tomato Zambies.
Joyzy.
Would you go to a restaurant if they had zombies working there, but their sandwiches were still really good?
I mean,
Is there-
depends on the type of zombie.
Well, would maggots get in your food?
Yeah, maggots, rotting flesh, all that shit. No.
Food's always pristine.
No.
It's
Well, all right.
made by zombies.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if they're not trying to eat me.
Okay.
Mm.
All right, Chris.
Yeah.
Hard pivot.
What the fuck kind of question is that?
Yeah, well, you know, like,
I'm trying
do you
to.
trust zombies to make your food or not? Like,
It was
No. On no level.
also, do they understand the difference of taste? Like, they only want flesh. Like, are
Yeah.
they gonna understand what like the ratio?
Yeah, how would they not
are?
just eat all of the meat for the sandwiches?
That too? Because
It's a vegan restaurant.
it's a vegan restaurant.
They only order the meat to feed the staff.
Then no, I wouldn't. I don't want a
No,
vegan
you wouldn't be
sandwich.
there
I don't think
anyway.
they'd be into tofu, so.
I don't know. I mean,
And we just discussed about their motor skills being inadequate.
They just
How
be
would-
like a pile of ingredients
yeah.
on a
On
plate.
like an uncut piece of bread.
But-
Like it's
That's
just
so
a
low.
roll of bread. Yeah.
but it's really tasty.
Baguettes.
Okay, I mean, hey,
It's a very interesting open face sandwich.
be really affordable. You don't have to pay.
This is a deconstructed pastrami and Swiss.
in a blood aioli.
Ugh.
Anyway,
All right, here's our hard
Mary.
turn to a new subject. Chris, you wanted to cover a new game that you bought today.
Yeah. I bought Cuphead. Don't deal with the devil.
Cuphead.
And it's basically it's like a run and gun game. You pretty much hold
Side-scroller.
side scroller, yeah, and it's like that old school animation. It's actually called rubber hose animation.
Oh really?
As I
Like,
recently found out.
I did
We're
not know.
reminiscent of like Disney.
Like
and-
old
Of like old
Disney.
Mickey Mouse.
Tom and
Old Mickey
Jerry.
Mouse.
And when we
Everyone's
say
kinda
old
bouncing.
Disney, we mean like 1920s Disney, not 1980s
Yes.
Disney.
Oh, not when you say rubber hose, and it's not like government black site interrogation techniques. It's like
Or-
Disney, right?
I was
And/or
thinking
porn.
condoms.
And
I
or
mean-
yeah, I mean,
What's the difference?
to each
though?
his own, really.
Kinky.
It's
Anyway.
the Illuminati.
Disney is known for their black site interrogations.
Mm.
And porn.
Oh, hey, you don't do that again.
Oh my god.
South Park. Wonderful.
Oh my God.
All right, Chris, tell us.
But
about the game.
it's very surrealist in style. Like it's very like the whole game is very like grainy and old timey like that, and even like the sound like it sounds like you're listening to it out of an old like phonograph, one of those old big brass phonographs. Like it's just really like it really gets you,
Ah, you see
you know,
it, kid.
engulfed.
Ah, you see it, kid. You got
hey.
Moxie. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Shoot these guys. Shoot this bad guy.
Moxie.
You got Moxie.
The word confuses me.
I'm pretty confident if you've got it, you should see the doctor.
Exactly.
What does it actually mean, though, Moxie?
Sounds like
I don't know, but
sounds
we're
like a
moving on.
World War
Okay.
One trench illness.
Oh God, it does.
Trenchlness.
Not trench foot. I don't know.
Trench
Like
illness.
like you were in the trench and mustard gas hit. He's got a bad case of the Moxies.
I hear there's a cream for that.
You know what? It's the X. It sounds like pox.
Moxie, Poxy.
Pox.
Pox gonna give it to you. What? Fuck me. Just
The fuck
come
up.
on. Just tell me.
Get out. Bill, you're fired.
Oh my god. And that's how we peak.
And we're dead.
We-
Everyone's dead. The end. Chris, go on, please. Please save us.
Please
So
kill me.
Chris, go.
Big Bill's broken. So basically,
We've lost Bill.
Yep.
He off himself there.
Puck's gonna give it to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you pox, Bill.
Pox on all your houses.
I'll give you every pox I can
Oh
find.
my god, even Puck's gonna give it to you would have been like a threat. Puck's gonna
don't
give it
give
to me.
You just poxed yourself.
You knew how bad it was gonna be, so you punished yourself.
Yeah, you stopped it immediately.
It's about the size of it. Anyway, Chris, you're not
Cuphead.
helping. Help us.
Okay.
Continue with the Cuphead.
Well,
story.
Cuphead. So basically, the game you're exactly that, a Cuphead,
Uh-huh.
and your brother's in the game as well. And oh fuck, what's his name again? Mugman.
Oh my goodness.
Mugman.
Mugman.
So basically, you're playing a game of craps at a casino, and then you start playing against the devil, and then you bet some crazy amount because you've been winning all night, and so basically, the devil you bet your soul against the devil. You roll snake eyes, so basically now the devil has your ass. No, you're still a mug. You will
Cup.
continue to a cup, and your brother's a mug. And so then you have to go. So that you make a deal with the devil that you're going to go collect these deaths from other people who he has their souls too. Like, so well, no. He needed to collect their souls, so he sends you to go do this for him. So you become the devil's debt collector as a cup, and it's extremely fucking hard for a cartoon.
Yeah.
The game is fucking hard. You basically the best strategy you can possibly have, I suppose, in this game is hold the X button down. So you're pretty much just shooting and dodging, but you only get 3 hit points, and you die so many times. It's like Dark Souls.
That is, the third hit kills you every time.
Yes. It's just like Dark Souls, where it'll tell you across the screen you've died, and you die a lot. I think I've only been playing the game today, and I've died just as much as I've died in Dark Souls.
What I noticed, because we were watching some footage during the break, it very much has some overlap with Hotline Miami, which we discussed a couple episodes ago, in that you die very easily, not as easily, but very easily, and the levels are pretty short, and the reload time is pretty fast, so you don't really feel those deaths as much. And that, I thought, would be a nice detail for you.
Yeah, that's right up my alley.
Yeah.
Because,
Hotline Miami.
sometimes I try to go back to the old like NES games, and they're hard like that. But when you die, you have to spend like 25 minutes getting back to wherever you were.
Yep. Only to probably die on the way.
Yeah, I don't mind dying more if I have to run less to get to the game. So that sounds like a really positive aspect.
And there's also no. I mean, maybe later on in the game, I'm not sure, but there's no way to replenish your hit points either throughout the levels.
Oh no! But between levels,
Oh yeah. You start fresh.
how long are the levels?
They're pretty short, but like you die so much. Like I spent an hour.
Is it
on
just
like the 3rd level?
Is it just a boss fight immediately?
There's ones that are immediately straight into boss fights. Like the one, it starts off you fight a potato,
Obviously.
and then you fight an onion, and then a carrot.
We're making soup, clearly. Devil soup.
And the onion cries, and I think the tears hurt you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The carrot has like these weird like psychedelic eyes and a third eye above it that like and I think it launches carrot missiles at you.
Yeah.
So the joke being it's good for your eyes. So just like real dumb like
It's a cartoon. It's
it's a total cartoon, but
it's a trippy
violent.
cartoon.
It's violent. Yes.
And your gun, your guns you have in quotes, you're pointing with the cartoon finger and your thumb up like a hand pistol, but you're shooting things that actually do damage to these creatures. So it's like real kiddie-like, but it's not at all.
Not at all, and it's way too difficult for children. And I know I've been playing it on simple. There's simple and regular, and simple is not.
Is that because your nickname growing up was Simple? Simple
Thanks,
Chris.
Is it because you're bad at games and you should quit?
Oh, well, that is a factor.
Is it because Puck's gonna give it to you?
Oh my God. Who's the simpleton now?
But
Me.
Spoiler,
It's always
Bill.
been. Yeah.
But given as difficult as it is, it got a perfect score on Steam. Got a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Do you know how those scores are derived?
Not on Steam, no. No.
I think
Bribes.
I think on IGN it got a 4.5.
Sexual
No, a 4.8 out of 5.
And so what about it so far do you actually enjoy?
It's beautiful. The game runs incredibly smoothly. Just like the animations on how they work is just spectacular. It's just a very well thought out, very smooth, very playable, but very difficult game.
I really feel like we're we're in the renaissance of really difficult gaming. Like it has become an accepted thing now. One hit kills, 2-3 hit deaths with difficult bosses, that we're starting to see such creativity. Like this is one of those things that reminds me of how lucky I am to be in a world with so many other people. You gave me a million years. Do you think I'd sit around and be like, what if we made a teacup and it was old time and he fought vegetables and shot finger guys?
It's called drugs.
I would never do it.
And then it would be like a really apparently challenging but rewarding game on top of it.
Exactly, yeah.
And Well, one thing I noticed in the footage we were watching, and a crucial point, and maybe we could even have it a whole other subject unto itself, is that it has a very key feature, in my opinion, with any given game, especially an action-oriented one, and that is fully mappable controls. Getting into sort of a technical discussion there, but the guy we were watching, popular YouTube channel, he has 19 million followers. We don't need to plug him. Fuck him.
He's done. He's got it.
But multiple times in like just a few minutes I was actually, that we were watching, he's like, oh, this doesn't make sense. This would be easier if I could just go into the controls real quick and switch one button to something else. Like, oh, the dash is now going to be this button. That's easier for me. Boom. Nice and quick. I think that's such a minor detail, but something that's left out.
That's a
lot
thing.
of the time.
That's a thing that you can do now. I've been able to do it on PC games forever, but I didn't know you could
PC
do
games, yeah. I mean, even plenty of console games allow it too. The Bethesda games on console allowed for it, partly because they came from PC first. But
PUBG allows for it.
A lot
I
of the
believe.
older games, though, a lot of the older games, they gave you different options, like predetermined options
Different
for the
layouts.
control. Yes.
Halo in particular comes to mind
Right.
because they had like 8 of them. But you couldn't individually customize
Right
the
now,
button.
like a lot of games now, you can specifically map what command you want where on your controller.
See, the only thing I ever used to change was the inversion of the up down.
Sometimes it's the only thing you can. That and sensitivity.
But I don't know how people even get to a position where they're like, oh, I want to use the third variation of controls on this, because I just learn on the game's controls, and they go, oh, well, this is how I know now.
So with the Xbox Elite controller now, you can actually remap buttons at the controller level rather than at the game level. So
Whoa.
yeah, there's an app for the controller, and yeah, you can program the buttons to be whatever you want.
No shit.
They even come with paddles. So in addition to the triggers and whatnot, you can have like paddles linked to different buttons so that you can do different things and like hold the paddle down while you press another button.
This one spanks harder. This one
Thanks even harder.
spanks lighter. This one has holes in it for added
pleasure.
Also yes.
It's actually a cheese grater.
Also yes.
Any more thoughts on Cuphead, Chris?
I have some more thoughts on paddles.
Definitely. I mean, I'm just skimming the surface of the game, but I'm extremely hooked on it. Like I can already tell the $20 I spent, I'm gonna blow right past my $1 an hour on that one.
Yeah, that's our $1 an hour threshold for each game, right? Okay, so this led us to a new section idea that Frank came up with. Best recommended game on Steam sale of the week. Is that what do we call it?
Yeah, well, basically, we're
something
gonna
Thing
like
where
that.
you buy the game that's good, perhaps on Steam with a price that's
Less
also
than
good.
normal.
Yes,
a week.
a week.
Yeah. Whenever we do a podcast now, if we remember, which is the key to all of our segments, that we'll take a look at what's on Steam sale and we'll discuss which one we think is the best deal. Which one, it's a combination of not just how good the game is, but how much of a discount it is and what the actual price is. So say my idea behind this is, say, I don't know, pick a game we really like. Let's say Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition with all the DLC was on sale for, $30, which at this point is a decent deal, but
It's still going full price on Steam.
yeah, exactly. Versus, let's say, I don't know, a game that we don't like quite as much, like Left 4 Dead 2 was on sale for $2. I would probably say it's $2. Buy Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah, that would be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it were the
That's
case.
my point. So
It's
we're
not.
it's
Don't do
it's
that.
it's not just
Buy
a
the
function.
game if you want it. But
It's not just a function of how good the game is and how much we like it, but what the price is and what the sale is. So right now on Steam sale, they've got Rainbow Six Siege, Make Love Not War 5, which I've never even heard of, Men of War Assault Squad 2, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, The Witcher Wild Hunt Game of the Year Edition, Rocket League, and Dark Souls 3. And these range in price from cheapest would be Counter-Strike and Men of War Assault Squad 2 for $7.49. Most expensive would be Rainbow Six Siege for $41.99.
This is a tough one.
Witcher Wild Hunt is coming in at $19.99. Dark Souls is coming in at $14.99.
Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3, that's right. And Rocket League is coming in at $11.99.
Rocket League, though.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking
that's
it's
the thing.
probably Rocket League.
So
Rocket League's originally $20. So this is only a 40% discount, whereas The Witcher and Dark Souls are running at a 60 and 75% discount. Counter-Strike's running at a 50% discount. And Rainbow Six Siege, I think we can pretty much toss that one out immediately. First of all, it's only a 30% discount. And second of all, I've heard it's not a very good game.
I've heard good things. I heard it's very reminiscent of Counter-Strike in its format.
I've mostly heard about pay to win on that one.
Oh.
Well, looking at the bottom of the screen here, I see XCOM 2, and from what I've
Ooh,
seen, that
yeah.
game,
Oh, yeah, that's rocking at 67% off.
and that's in. But the issue that I have with that is I can't believe that game's still 50, like full price.
$50.
That's an awesome game, but when you have XCOM 2 for $19.79, which is a good game if you like that style, beneath Dark Souls 3 for $14.99, I just don't think it stands up head to head with Dark Souls as far as value goes. For me, it comes down to really a point of preference, I guess. Rocket League, if you're all about that online gaming, it sounds good. $12 isn't bad. I'd still put Dark Souls ahead of it as far as like monumental games. Like, holy smokes, The Witcher Wild Hunt 3. If it was the same price as Dark Souls, I'd probably go with that.
See, I would lean more towards The Witcher because it includes the DLCs, which were also really awesome and huge. I mean, the extra 2 DLCs that you're going to get with that are going to add probably another 50 hours of gameplay.
No shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, then you know what? Yep, I switched to. I'll switch to. The
And that's
Witcher.
coming. I prefer Dark Souls 3 as a game overall, but if you're going to drop all that DLC and whatnot down to $20, I mean, that's 200 to 300 hours of gameplay right there. Whereas Dark Souls 3, the base edition, yeah, you could squeeze 200-300 hours out of that game just getting good if you've never played Dark Souls before. But you'll be playing the game, like you'll just be replaying the game over and over again if you want to hit. It took me about 35 hours to beat the game the first time I played through it.
So I sort of misunderstood what we were doing, and I checked into my wish list of the games that I was looking at. And I noted that in there is Dying Light. It's their anniversary month, and that game is 60% off at $16. What I forgot to mention is that it has a crafting system that is that I remember being really impressive. Now that I remember it, it's pretty killer. I mean, it's $15 when The Witcher's there at $20. It's hard not to go with The Witcher, but I wanted to give it an honorable mention. But the game from my wish list that I go with, and there's some solid titles in here, would be The Last Penelope. It's sort of a future style, like not cyberpunk, but like Outrun color scheme, like very 80s in its color and its music, really solid music. Neat little top-down racing game. I think it's pretty hard. I think you explode if you run into stuff. The levels are quick. The gameplay is really, really solid, and it is $3.24.
Wow.
Yeah. You're going to get more than 3.24 hours out of this game, and it's it was a new something that I hadn't expected. You know, a neat little F-Zero X looking futuristic F-Zero X, like all the cars hover and stuff. Little racer, and the music is absolutely killer. So off of my wish list, that is my recommendation of the week.
The Last Penelope?
The Last Penelope, yep.
Okay.
No reason we can't have both.
Yeah.
A straight recommendation and a best Steam sale.
There we go.
All right. Well, I think
Cool.
I think that wraps up. Pretty solid episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, we enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget, cock 'em, lock 'em, and rock 'em, baby.
Oh.